Chapter 3371. What did you find? Ouyang Shixian frowned. What should I do? If the laboratory conditions are good enough, Dr. Gao can do it according to your own ideas. If you need anything, just tell me. The current Gao phone was very important to him. It's like this. Doesn't the clone have the ability to regenerate? If we divide her body into many parts and ensure that each part can survive, then in a certain period of time, we can find many identical clones, just like cell division. However, we don't know if it will succeed, so we plan to cut a slightly larger part and put it in the nutrient and growth solution. After all, this is a big matter, so I came to ask Mr. Ouyang. Ouyang Shixian was silent for a while, then asked, "How sure are you?" At present, there is a 50% chance. After all, whether the experiment succeeds or fails, we will only know the result after we do it. No matter how sure the experiment is, there is still the possibility of failure. But after doing this, the production of the organ repair solution will be reduced by 1/3. After all, the impact is still relatively large. Then Dr. Gao can do it. I don't have a specific time here. We can postpone it. There is no rush. Jiang Axayan vomited in his heart, but he still used Gao Feng's tone to say, with Mr. Ouyang's words, "We are relieved." Right, the clone still talks about you every day. Ouyang Shixian didn't answer and directly hung up the phone. After receiving such a big news, Ouyang Shixian was still immersed in the future and forgot about the private detective. After about 2 hours, the private detective called him again. "Mr. Ouyang, where did you go before? I have a very important situation to tell you." The private detective was now full of cold sweat. Although he wasn't sure if what he eavesdropped was true, it should be very important to Ouyang Shixian. There must be a big secret hidden here, which made him feel a chill on his neck. What is so urgent? "Mr. Ouyang, this morning, I did eavesdrop on some strange words. I can't tell if it was true or a joke, or what the wife and her brother were rehearsing. But now that they have gone to the airport, I feel that something is wrong. I immediately contacted you before, but I don't know why you didn't pick up. Don't talk nonsense, just talk about business." Hearing that they went to the airport, Ouyang Shixian couldn't sit still. Okay. I'll send you the recording. You can listen to it. Where can you send me? Are you sure you can't find Ouyang Shixian? Although Tang Gua and Tang Zhou went to Ouyang Shixian and even booked a plane ticket, in fact, she was not in the waiting room right now. Instead, under Tang Zhou's arrangement, she got on an ordinary van. Tang Zhou had also disguised himself. When he knew of this possibility, he had secretly arranged these things. These arrangements were originally made for her to escape back then, but they were useless at that time. Now that some of the routes had been modified, they could still be used. Going to the airport was just a diversion. Even if she went abroad, Ouyang Shixian would still be able to find her easily. It would be better to send her to some remote villages, a slightly backward place, where she would not be easily discovered, especially in some places where ID cards were not required. Vertex. Chapter 3372. There should be no problem with my arrangement. I also prepared a lot of camouflage. Ouyang Shixian shouldn't be able to find you. Tang Zhou handed a card to Tang Gua. This card is in the name of a friend of mine. When the time comes, I will transfer money to you regularly. Remember, if you want to live peacefully, don't show up. Go live in the countryside first. I have arranged everything. When the time comes, I will ask someone to give you an ID card. Tang Gua took the card, lowered her head and didn't speak. I didn't expect you to do this. I didn't expect that I would do these things. Ouyang Shixian, this man, I have never been sure that I would do anything to hide it from him. But this time, I have used all my strength. Don't let me down, okay? Never appear in Ouyang Shixian's sight. Live well. Promise me, don't hurt other innocent people because of the mistakes we made. Tang Guo looked up and smiled. Okay, I won't hurt any innocent people. That's good. I will send you off for a while and then we will separate. Wait, let the makeup artist help you with your makeup. Because of your special identity, you can't take any cars that require an ID card. But I have arranged many cars for you. They will take you to your destination. Maybe the environment of these cars is not very good. You have to bear with it. Tang Zhou looked a little anxious. He probably wanted to bring his sister out. About half an hour later, Tang Zhou and Tang Guo said goodbye. When he left, he was in a hurry. He returned to the airport. As soon as he showed up, he was held down by a group of big men. He didn't resist at all. He showed an expected look. Sure enough, Ouyang Shixian had been arranging people to watch them. Fortunately, he guessed this. When Ouyang Shixian was relaxed, he arranged these things. Tang Zhou was taken into Ouyang Shixian's study. He was pushed in by the big men. From the people under his hand, it could be seen that Ouyang Shixian should know something. Where is Xiaoguo? The study was full of smoke. Obviously, Ouyang Shixian was smoking. Tell me, Xiaozhou, were you and Xiaoguo rehearsing a show? Where are you going to perform? Tang Zhou looked at Ouyang Shixian's expressionless face, gritting his teeth as if he was enduring something. There was an indescribable feeling in his heart. Go and bring my sister back, brother-in-law. Tang Zhou said directly, didn't you ask someone to bring me back because you heard something? What you heard is the truth. I've already sent her away. Can you bring big sister back now? When Ouyang Shixian heard Tang Zhou's reply, he broke the cigarette in his hand. He staggered and almost fell to the ground. He leaned on the desk and said in a hoarse voice, "Are you kidding me? How could such a bizarre thing happen? I know you've always wanted to release this clone. Are you trying to trick me into releasing him? Brother-in-law, there are so many suspicious points. Don't you have any doubts at all?" Tang Zhou knew that Ouyang Shixian was still holding on to the last bit of hope. I know why you don't want to believe it. It's because the person in the lab is my sister. It's over between the two of you. No matter what you do in this lifetime, there's no way you can make it up to her. What you've done to her and the damage you've caused her will always be a bloody wound that can't be healed. Xiaozhou, this joke isn't funny at all. Ouyang Shixian, I don't like jokes. Tang Zhou slammed the table and then grabbed Ouyang Shixian's collar. Seeing that he was wasting time, he suddenly laughed sarcastically. Face it. All of this is true. It's your greed that made my sister suffer. At this time, you still don't want to bring her back. Is it because in your heart, she's still not as great as your great career? Don't hesitate anymore. Every day my sister is in the lab is a day of suffering. Tang Zhou was a little anxious. He was really afraid now that Ouyang Shixian suddenly didn't care about his sister anymore. Ouyang Shixian only felt darkness in front of him. He sat heavily on the chair and picked up the phone with trembling fingers. Tang Zhou saw the fear on his face and sighed in his heart. I'll call the lab and ask them to stop any experimental projects immediately. We'll go and pick her up immediately. Xiaozhou, this isn't over. No matter where you sent Xiaoguo's body, I'll get it back. Ouyang Shixian said these words with a trembling voice. Tang Zhou knew that this person was restraining himself. At this moment, if it wasn't for his strong endurance, he might have already broken down. Dr. Gao. Mr. Ouyang, why did you take the initiative to call? Right, we just dismembered part of the clone and soaked part of it in the nutrient solution. It's still alive. We just have to wait for the results in a month. Jiang Xan's heart was nauseous, but his tone was very excited. The lines that Xiao Tian gave him were getting more and more perverted. What should he do? Crossover, female supporting character, calm down. Chapters will continue to be updated on Green Dough. There are no advertisements on the website. Please bookmark and recommend Green Dough. Like crossover, female supporting character, calm down. Please bookmark, crossover, female supporting character, calm down. Green Dough updates the fastest. Peak. Chapter 3373. As soon as Jiang Xan finished speaking, the phone in Ouyang Shixian's hand fell onto the table with a loud bang. Tang Zhou, who was standing opposite him, saw this and his face turned pale. He asked nervously, "What's going on?" He clenched his fists, and his brows couldn't relax. His eyes and face were full of worry and anxiety. Ouyang Shixian was in a trance. He thought of something and quickly picked up the phone that had fallen on the desk. His voice was low and trembling. He ignored Jiang Xan's question. Instead, his voice was cold and urgent. "Dr. Gao, stop all the experiments on the clone immediately. Remember, I want it to stop immediately. Also, don't do anything. I'll be right there." Ouyang Shixian said these words in one breath. Although there was not much expression on his face, his body was already drenched. In a short period of time, he thought a lot. He couldn't deceive himself anymore. There were doubts everywhere. In addition to what Tang Zhou said, the clone in the laboratory was probably the real Xiaoguo. He squeezed the phone hard. He really couldn't understand how things had turned out like this. "Mr. Ouyang, what's wrong? Now that the experiment has started, there's no way to stop it. Didn't Mr. Ouyang support this before?" Jiang Xan continued his lines. Although he wasn't in front of Ouyang Shixian, he already felt that Ouyang Shixian was definitely not in a good state. At this moment, Ouyang Shixian must be very regretful in his heart. He thought he was saving the person he liked. Unfortunately, it turned out that he had personally pushed the person he liked into the abyss. He used to think that the clone had the memory of the person he liked, so he often called his name. Now that Ouyang Shixian thought of this, he didn't know how to feel. That feeling was definitely not a good one. In any case, if he were in the other party's position and knew the truth, he would want to kill himself. "If I say stop, stop. Stop all the experiments immediately. Remember, don't do anything to the clone. Wait for me to come over." Ouyang Shixian couldn't think about those messy things. After a verbal warning, he hung up the phone. If it weren't for the fact that he still had something to do, he might not have had any strength now. "You should bring me along this time. After all, if you meet my sister later, she might not want to talk to you." Tang Zhou stopped Ouyang Shixian, who was in a hurry to leave. "Think about it. My sister has suffered in the laboratory for the past few years. No matter how kind she is, she still cares about you. I'll bring her back now. She won't be harmed in the future." When Tang Zhou heard this, he was so angry that he laughed. He grabbed Ouyang Shixian's collar and sneered, "Ouyang Shixian, do you want to remember how much my sister suffered before she met you? Let's not talk about what happened in the laboratory. Let's talk about the organ failure in the beginning. Wasn't it done by your opponent, Ouyang Shixian? It was because of you that she suffered so much. If it weren't for you, her body would definitely be healthy. She wouldn't have been forced to drink those messy drugs, and today's incident wouldn't have happened. In order to save her, you asked the laboratory to research clones, but she didn't know about it. No matter what you did, you never cared about what she thought. You just wanted her to live and satisfy yourself. Like to wear it quickly, supporting female lead, calm down, please collect, wear it quickly, supporting female lead, calm down. Apex. Chapter 3374. Now that so many things have happened, do you really think that you can still be the same as before? My sister knows everything you've done. What happened to her in the past few years should be recorded in your laboratory, right? Tang Zhou unceremoniously exposed Ouyang Shixian's scar. Maybe she really doesn't want to care about you anymore. Take me with you. I will personally take my sister home to take care of her. If you want her to be well, take me with you. In the end, Ouyang Shixian agreed. The two of them hurriedly went to the small island. With Tang Guo's prior arrangement, they got there very smoothly and didn't get lost. However, there was still a certain distance between the island and the city here. They arrived at the island a day later. When he saw Jiang Xian, Ouyang Shixian asked anxiously, "Where is she? Where is she? How is the situation? Is there any problem?" It was the first time Tang Zhou had seen Ouyang Shixian so anxious. At this time, Tang Guo had also returned to the island. She did not go to the place Tang Zhou had arranged for her at all. She found a chance to leave halfway. However, she gave those people a sum of money and asked them to pretend to take her to the countryside. Jiang Xian had seen Tang Guo before and was in a good mood. However, after seeing Ouyang Shixian, his mood was bad again. Before this, little Tian had arranged some lines for him, so Jiang Xian didn't care about Ouyang Shixian's anxiousness. Instead, he used an anxious and disappointed tone to say, "Mr. Ouyang, we've already listened to you and stopped all experiments. Because of your instructions, we did not dare to experiment on the clone again. We let the clone stay in the nutrient solution. As for the part that was cut off before, it is still in the petri dish with the nutrient solution and growth solution. Don't talk so much nonsense. Tell me where she is." "She is still in the nutrient solution, but..." "Mr. Ouyang, I want to tell you a very unfortunate thing. This experiment failed. Not only did the experiment fail, but the clone also has a very serious problem." Jiang Xian continued his lines. The eyes under the shield were observing Ouyang Shixian's expression. Ouyang Shixian was indeed nervous, but he still maintained a cold expression. "What happened?" "There's a problem with the clone. Even if the part of the clone is soaked in the growth liquid and nutrient liquid, not only is it not developing at all, it's even slowly dying." Jiang Xian finally revealed the situation. Also, the clone itself seems to have the same problem. We cut off a part of it, but no new parts were added. We didn't touch the clone for the past 2 days, but the problem started to appear today. According to the current rate of death of the clone cells, she will die in less than a month. Jiang Xian directly sentenced him to death. Ouyang Shixian could no longer sit still. He staggered backward. But very quickly, he dashed forward and grabbed Jiang Xian's collar. His eyes were red as he squeezed out the words between his teeth. "I want to see her. Save her for me. I won't allow her to die. If anything happens to her, I'll destroy this place. Gao Feng, you have so many ways to save her." Jiang Xian was forced to bring Ouyang Shixian to the petri dish where the clone was kept. Through the transparent petri dish, Ouyang Shixian finally saw the person he wanted to see. Vertex. Chapter 3375. Ouyang Shixian looked at the other person who had lost an arm. Her eyes were closed as if she was in a deep sleep. When she seemed to have no life at all, his expression finally became rich. Struggle, pain, sadness, ferociousness, madness, despair, especially when he saw the wound on her arm, which was neat and tidy, Ouyang Shixian collapsed. He didn't know how to describe the feeling of heaven and earth collapsing. Only when he saw her, who didn't open her eyes at all, did he feel that the world was dark. Save her. Ouyang Shixian pinched Jiang Xan's collar hard and choked his neck. Save her for me. Aren't you capable? You can research clones. You can save her. As long as you save her, I will give you anything you want. I can buy this island for you. I will give you all the benefits I get from the laboratory. I will give you whatever you want in the future. Mr. Ouyang, unfortunately, I can't do it. She was originally a clone, created from the genes of a human being. Although she is the same as a human, there are many differences. The regenerative ability in her body has been squeezed dry. Maybe it is because of this that her body can't grow back completely. Although this matter is indeed a big blow to Mr. Ouyang and will bring losses to your company, there is no way. But there's really nothing we can do about it. If we can save her, we wouldn't just soak her in the nutrient solution. Everyone in our laboratory can't wait for her to continue living. So, it's really a pity that such a good experimental body is going to be lost. If Mr. Ouyang is worried about the organ repair fluid that was promised before, you don't have to. Although her body is gradually dying, before she dies, we can use her body to separate the substances we need. We can still market a few batches of that medicine. This is a buffer time. With Mr. Ouyang's wisdom, you should be able to think of a way to solve this problem. Jiang Axian finished his lines in one breath and waited for Ouyang Shixian's reaction. Ouyang Shixian reacted quickly and gave Jiang Axian a punch. I said to save her, not to let you use her for experiments and extract some bullshit substances. But why didn't Mr. Ouyang say that before? If you didn't allow us to do this experiment at the beginning, we wouldn't have touched her. Jiang Axian continued. Yes, you allowed it. Who are you blaming now? Although he had taken a punch, Jiang Axian was not angry at all. The strength of an ordinary human was really weak. This punch was not much different from scratching an itch. Gao Feng, I'll say it again. Save her at all costs. Otherwise, you will not be able to bear the consequences. Ouyang Shixian had no choice but to threaten the person in charge of the experiment. Mr. Ouyang, you're making things difficult for me. Ouyang Shi looked at Gao Feng coldly. If you can't save her, I'll let you all die with her. None of you here want to live. Those of you who hurt her, don't even think about leaving here alive. Ouyang Shixian, you are simply unreasonable. If this experiment didn't have your support, why would we do it? Jiang Axian continued with his lines, and his tone became angrier. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, Transmigration, Female Supporting Lead, Calm Down. Chapters will continue to be updated in the handwriting bar. There are no advertisements on the website, so please bookmark and recommend the handwriting bar. Like to wear it quickly, supporting female lead, please calm down. Wear it quickly, supporting female lead, calm down. Vertex. Chapter 3376. After so many days, little Tian finally arranged 2 good lines for him. After saying them, he felt comfortable. If she dies, you all have to die. Ouyang Shixian completely ignored Jiang Xian's words. He stood outside the petri dish and looked at the person inside with her eyes closed. Xiaogua, as long as you wake up, I will take you back and never hurt you again. Those who hurt you, I will take revenge for you one by one. Tang Zhou felt that Ouyang Shixian was an unreasonable person. He walked to the other side and said rudely, "Aren't you the one who hurt my sister?" He stared blankly at the person in the petri dish. His heart was in pain. So, why did God arrange for him to be reborn? Was it to see another tragic ending for his sister? He didn't hate the clone. The only person he hated was Ouyang Xixin. All the tragedies were caused by the other party. Shouldn't the person who deserves to die be you? How many times did I stop you to let her go? You were stubborn and greedy. In the end, the person you hurt was my sister. Ouyang Xixin, you were too blindly confident in yourself. You thought you could control everything in your hands. That's why you ended up like this. I didn't want to hurt Xiaoguo. Where is the clone now? If this clone's body can't wake up, then we can only find Xiaoguo's body and let them exchange it back. Tang Zhou couldn't stand it anymore. He punched Ouyang Xixin in the face. You always blame others for your mistakes. Don't tell me that all the mistakes were made by you. Ouyang Xixin, stop tormenting. My sister can't stand your torment. Let her live her last days well. After meeting this lunatic Ouyang Xixin, he suddenly felt that if his sister wasn't in this world, it might be easier and happier. I will save her, Gao Feng. Ouyang Xixin shouted at Jiang Exian. Save her. If you can't save her, I will bury all of you. Ouyang Xixin, I won't let you make any more mistakes. During this time, stay here and accompany my sister. You stay here and atone for your sins with her. Reflect on your actions all these years. Before coming, Tang Zhou took advantage of Ouyang Xixin's carelessness to arrange for people to subdue all of Ouyang Xixin's men. In addition, he had taken control of the entire island. Of course, this was in Tang Zhou's eyes. Tang Guo watched his actions and did not stop him. Under Ouyang Xixin's incredulous gaze, a few people walked out from behind Tang Zhou and surrounded the entire laboratory. In addition, these people immediately grabbed Jiang Exian and took him out. Jiang Exian, on the other hand, was very cooperative. After all, little Tian had instructed him to do so, so he didn't resist and just followed these people out. Tang Zhou, what are you doing? Ouyang Xixin reacted and asked. I'll let you calm down here and give you time to redeem yourself in front of my sister. Tang Zhou pointed at the petri dishes around them. Look, that's my sister and her arm in there. You can never forget that you were the one who made all of this happen. Without your consent, none of this would have happened. In a while, I'll bring over the records of my sister's hardships in this laboratory for you to see. Although he didn't dare to look, he wanted to show it to Ouyang Xixin. Vertex. Chapter 3377. In the laboratory, a few monitors were moved in. After the monitors were put in, they began to play some of the laboratory's records. Tang Zhou didn't dare to look at these. He only thought that these were real experimental records. It was enough to make Ouyang Xixin collapse and realize his mistake. He didn't expect that this was a video that Tang Guo had carefully prepared for Ouyang Xixin. At the same time, an image appeared on the monitor, attracting Ouyang Xixin's attention. Although he didn't want to see it, Tang Zhou had directly controlled his people and locked him in this place. He knew that Tang Zhou wouldn't do anything to him. He could stay here and accompany Xiaoguo, so he didn't have much of a reaction. Moreover, he didn't believe that Tang Zhou would watch Xiaoguo die. At this moment, he was most likely thinking of a way to save Xiaoguo. A very familiar face appeared on the screen. It was the clone from before. No, it should be Xiaoguo's now. The image started when she was in the nutrient solution. He saw the female lead's pale face and painful expression. Exian couldn't help but feel pain. Xixin, where are you? Where is this? Why do I feel so much pain? Xixin, why don't you come to see me? Where am I? Why is it so quiet around me? Listening to her weak voice, Ouyang Xixin's heart wall instantly collapsed. It hurts. Xixian, there seems to be some insects drilling into my flesh. I feel that my abdomen is empty. I don't know what's wrong. Is this a dream? If that's the case, can this dream be shorter? Can I see you when I wake up? Ouyang Xixian's eyes turned red and tears flowed down his face. He stared blankly at the image. There was a long hole in her abdomen. Perhaps the people in the laboratory didn't care at first. They didn't stitch her wound and directly threw her into the nutrient solution. This allowed him to clearly see the organs inside the wound. He even saw that she actually reached out to touch her abdomen. There's a hole in my abdomen. I can actually reach in. Why is it empty inside? This must be a dream. Otherwise, how can I still be alive? Ouyang Xixian watched her close her eyes. It seemed that as long as she fell asleep, she would wake up from this strange dream when she woke up. However, he did not wake up from the dream. It hurts. My stomach is itchy and throbbing. It feels like something is taking root and sprouting. The video was edited, so it played very quickly. In just 2 hours, Ouyang Xixian had seen the growth of the female lead's body for a month. He watched as the organs grew and the wounds healed. He watched as she endured the pain throughout the process. Ouyang Xixian's entire person was haggard, but this was not the end. What happened next made Ouyang Xixian want to run away from this place. Because she was sent to the operating table, he saw with his own eyes that the people in the laboratory, wearing cold protective suits, cut open her originally grown belly and took her organs from inside. He heard her screams of pain. In order to prove her ability, those people actually chose not to give her anesthesia and directly took it out. The method looked gentle, but it was actually very cruel. Xixian, I want to see Xixian. Let me see Xixian, Xixian. She closed her eyes in pain, tears falling from the corners of her eyes. Let me see him. I know. I have all her memories, and I will also recall my own memories. On the operating table, Ouyang Xixian looked at her lying quietly on the operating table, motionless. She was still not anesthetized, but it was different from before. Instead, she looked at the ceiling with dull eyes, letting those people cut her body with knives. I still want to see Xixian, can I? I just want to see him once. No one responded to her. She actually smiled with tears. She was clearly cut up, but she could still smile. Ouyang Xixian wanted to smash the screen. Unfortunately, all the screens were locked in a transparent space, and he could not enter at all. I just want to tell Xixian that you shouldn't do things that hurt others for the sake of your own goals. If you encounter anything in the future, don't hurt others casually. Her voice became lower and lower until the people in the laboratory took away one of her arms. Although it was very painful, she only frowned. Her voice was weak. I know, I should bear everything, but Xixian still doesn't understand why I have to bear everything. If there is an afterlife, I hope we won't meet again. Ouyang Xixian looked at her empty eyes. His whole body lost strength, and he could not stand up at all. Crossfast, female supporting lead, calm down. Chapters will continue to be updated in Qingdou. There are no advertisements in the website. Please bookmark and recommend Qingdou. Like Crossfast, female supporting lead, calm down. Please bookmark. Crossfast, female supporting lead, calm down. Qingdou updates the fastest. Peak. Chapter 3378. I just fast-forwarded it just now and selected some important scenes to play. Let's slow it down for a month. Tenghua sat in the control room, resting her chin on one hand. She looked at Ouyang Xi's pained expression on the screen and laughed happily. She turned around and saw Jiang Xan staring at her unblinkingly. What's the matter? Xiao Tian, how did you create such a perverted scene? However, some of the scenes are indeed what our members have encountered. It's just that many of our members used to be dumb and blank like babies. They don't understand anything at all. He had been with Gao Feng and had seen many such scenes. If he had not been prepared for something big and knew that he could not resist, he would have been exposed long ago. Well, when I was living outside for many years, I made a good friend on the internet who was good at making videos. These scenes were all made for me by that friend. Tang Guo said with a smile. Tongzi was indeed her friend, so there was nothing wrong with this statement. Isn't it very realistic? It's not realistic, it's completely realistic. Jiang Axian did not doubt Tang Guo's statement. Instead, he asked, are you on good terms with that friend? Shouldn't it be very difficult to make such a video? Have you met him before? Is your friend a woman or a man? System, ha 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 ha, I'm dying of laughter. System, dear host, tell him it's a man. Although I'm just a system, I'm indeed a system with a gender. A very great and powerful male system. I haven't met him. Tang Guo smiled and said, that friend is very mysterious. He doesn't want to reveal his identity, so I don't know if he's a man or a woman. I see. Jiang Axian looked relieved and comforted Tang Guo. Xiao Tian, don't be too sad. Most people with some ability don't want their identity to be exposed on the internet. After all, if someone as powerful as the other party is exposed, it may bring trouble to the other party in real life. It's not a bad choice to make friends anonymously. If this friend needs any help in the future, we can help him. System, I don't need any help. However, I don't know this guy's real identity and whether he has any say in the Spacetime Bureau. If he does, we can really help him. Dear host, what do you think this fellow's true identity is? Was it possible for him to have any say in the Spacetime Bureau? If there is, when you go out in the future, if there is no deep hatred between the two of you, can you ask him to go to the Spacetime Bureau to help me ask and give me a serial number? You're still thinking about this. You're already so powerful. Serial numbers don't seem to be that important anymore. Didn't you always say that? So what if I have a serial number? I still can't beat a wild one like you. The system said awkwardly, anyway, with a serial number, it's still a little different. Humans had many pursuits, and so did the system. Although I'm the most powerful system, when the system world knows about me in the future, they can't possibly call me system or wild system, right? If there's a number, it'll be easier for me to leave behind my legendary story. It does make sense. I used to wonder if this guy was the boss of the space administration who had arranged all of this. However, after meeting your brother Wild, this situation no longer holds true. Vertex. Chapter 3379. For a whole month, Ouyang Shixian was locked in that laboratory. Not only did he have to face a sleeping and incomplete body, but he also had to face everything that happened to the body that was playing in a loop. She was placed on the experiment table and allowed to be cut. She was in so much pain that she did not frown or scream. She called his name weakly. Her voice was low and her face was full of despair. Every scene of her suffering was displayed on the huge display screen, and every scene was so shocking. Every scene caused his heart to throb painfully. Especially her eyes, which were empty, as if she was numb from the pain. Only the tears would fall from the corners of her eyes. It made his heart break again and again. After watching such scenes for a month, not only was he not numb, but every time he knew what would happen, he could only watch. He was powerless to stop it. The bottom made him break down. Ouyang Shixian shouted in the laboratory. He used all his strength to hit the display screen that he couldn't hit. After a month, his fist was bloody and could no longer see its original appearance. The suit and shirt he was wearing were in a mess. Tang Zhou arranged for people to send clothes in, but Ouyang Shixian did not use them at all. Other than swallowing the food that was sent in and solving his personal problems, he was basically watching the images that were playing in a loop. When he was tired and sleepy, he lay on top of the nutrition tank and closed his eyes to sleep. But when the images on the screen rang in his ears, he would often wake up in the middle of it. He did not know the sun and the moon, winter and summer. He did not know how many days had passed. But days like this were getting harder and harder to bear with each passing day. Especially when he saw with his own eyes that in the nutrition tank, the muscles of the arm that belonged to the body had atrophied. In the end, he could only see that it was an arm. He did not think that an arm could be owned by a living person. Of course, what made Ouyang Shixian break down the most was not the death of all the cells in the arm, but the body in the nutrition tank was also slowly changing. Of course, it was not changing for the better, but for the worse. Visible to the naked eye, the vitality of the body was slowly disappearing. The belief that supported him to live here and watch those scenes every day was that she was still alive. Tang Zhou did not let him out. He must be thinking of a way to find someone to save her. He had always had hope in his heart, but now, he could no longer sit still. When someone came to deliver food, Ouyang Shixian grabbed the person. His eyes were red and his face was ferocious. Go and call Tang Zhou over. I want to see him. Xiaogua can't hold on much longer. Tell him to find a way to save him. If he can't do it, then let me out. Where's Gao Feng? Call Gao Feng over as well. He had done so much just for her to come back and never leave his side. He couldn't accept her leaving him. She could never leave him. If he said no, then no. The person who delivered the food was actually a clone. Of course, he was stronger than Ouyang Shi. He casually pushed Ouyang Shixian away and coldly said, I will help you pass on the message. Before this, Ouyang Shixian had tried to subdue him. Of course, he had been beaten up. Ouyang Shixian knew that he could not fight back, so he stayed there obediently. Fast crossover, female supporting lead, calm down that the chapter will continue to be updated. There are no advertisements in the website. Please bookmark and recommend the website. Like fast crossover, female supporting lead, calm down, please bookmark, fast crossover, female supporting lead, calm down. Peak. Chapter 3380. Jiang Axian continued, Welcome to the clone country. You are the first outsider to know about the clone country other than us clones. Little Tian. Oh no, our king said before that you are a good person, so I won't make things difficult for you. If you were like Ouyang Shixian, I might not be able to resist beating you up and sending you to the underworld to pour feces. Jiang Axian looked as if he was the first one to know, which made Jiang Axian unable to accept it. He rubbed his face and slapped himself. It hurt so much that he realized this was not a dream. Ah Zhou. Tang Guo walked in from outside and saw Tang Zhou slap himself until his face was red. Tang Zhou was even more confused when he saw Tang Guo appear here. But now that he had Ouyang Shixian under his control, he was not afraid of Tang Guo appearing here and what Ouyang Shixian would do to her. This was not Ouyang Shixian's territory, so he could not do anything. Why are you here? No, how did you know this place? Jiang Axian hurriedly said to Tang Zhou, This is Little Tian, our king. Our king. If Little Tian was not willing to see you, I would not have brought you here. King. Tang Zhou could no longer differentiate between reality and dreams. This was too different from what he remembered. Tang Guo did not say much to Tang Zhou. She only said one thing, I'll bring you to see someone. You must want to see her. Tang Gui did not have any special thoughts about Tang Zhou. Everything that he had experienced before almost made his body and mind collapse. There was no deep hatred between the two of them. In this world, the only person who had hatred with her was Ouyang Xixin. She has been here for a few years and has been clamoring to see you. Tang Gui said calmly, "Oh right, when you leave, don't take Ouyang Xixin with you. I don't want to let him go. As for how to explain in front of that person, it's up to you. I think you should take her away and never appear in front of Ouyang Xixin. Killing Ouyang Xixin would be letting him off too easily. Perhaps he would rather die. As for putting everything that the original owner experienced onto Ouyang Xixin, maybe because he saw those videos, he felt good about this punishment. She would not do as he wished. She would only let him poke where it hurt." Tang Zhou had a lot of doubts, but Tang Gui didn't explain. She took him directly to the place where the female lead lived. Only then did Tang Zhou realize that this place really didn't feel like a laboratory. It felt like an underground city. Even when he sat in the elevator and looked at the ocean world outside the transparent wall, he couldn't believe it at all. Since when was there such a magnificent building in the world? The elevator wasn't fast, and it allowed one to view the beautiful and mysterious world of the sea. It was as if he had walked into a virtual world. He still felt like he was dreaming. Every single one of these buildings was exquisite and dreamy. Underwater City, Clone Country. Tang Zhou slapped himself and laughed. Sure enough, it's still a dream. How could it be? It's just that this dream is a bit strange. It actually hurts when you hit yourself. Tang Gui glanced at Tang Zhou. Jiang Axayan said, "Did he receive too much stimulation recently? His brain is a bit abnormal. Do you want to call a doctor to check it out?" Ordinary humans, whether it's mentally or physically, are indeed very fragile. The Summit. Chapter 3382. Until Tang Zhou saw the female lead in a room. Looking at the familiar face, the other party's expression, eyes, and the person in his memory, he couldn't help but call out, "Sister." At this time, Tang Zhou felt that this was a dream. "I didn't expect that I could have such a dream. Sister, I know this is a dream. I don't want to wake up." The female lead looked at Tang Zhou, somewhat puzzled. She had stayed here for many years. Her original serious illness had been cured, and now her body had recovered to its original health. The people here should have no malice towards her. Except for not being able to go out, there seemed to be nothing wrong with it. The scenery of the underwater city was also very beautiful. The other party had promised to let her out when the time came, so she was very patient and well-behaved. After all, her illness was a dead end. Now that she was alive, it was her luck. Tang Zhou's appearance was a pleasant surprise for her. "You can talk about the old days slowly. When you have discussed, you can leave." Tang Gui still didn't explain too much. She turned and left. Just now, Jiang Axayan told her that the other party wanted to see Tang Zhou. At this time, she should go and meet the other party. The door opened again. It wasn't time for dinner. Ouyang Xixin's eyes quickly moved away from the screen and fell on the door. He vaguely saw a figure. Thinking of the current situation, he suddenly stood up. Because he hadn't eaten well recently, he hadn't slept well, his spirit was low, and he was so stimulated by the beating that his whole person was dizzy. "Xiao Zhou, have you thought of a way? Let me out. If you don't think of a way, Xiao Guo will die." There was a very strong light outside. Ouyang Xixin didn't see the appearance of the person who came in. Tang Gui closed the door. Only then did he see the person standing in front of him. In an instant, he wanted to rush over and grab her. His eyes seemed to want to eat her. Tangwa gently avoided and asked with a smile, "How does it feel to watch the person you like suffer?" "You are very capable." Ouyang Shixian's eyes turned cold. "If Xiaogui dies, I won't let you go. Do you think you can do anything else?" Tangwa told Ouyang Shixian the truth. "Now you are no longer a free man. Your actions are in my hands. What else can you do? Looking at you, it's obvious that you're blaming me for her current situation. Ouyang Shixian, aren't you the one who did all this? You are the culprit. You are the one who harmed her life, caused her to suffer, and caused her to die with grievances. You are the one who caused her to die with grievances. What do you want?" Ouyang Shixian asked. "What do you want in order to return her body to her? Since you were the one who took my body, I'm sure you can return it." He seemed to have grasped at the last straw of hope, completely losing his previous arrogance. Yes, he remembered his situation. Even if he didn't remember, he was still the powerful Ouyang Shixian outside. But in the face of the person he liked, he still had to ask this clone for help. "Why should I return it? If I return it to her, won't I be the one to die?" Tangwa sneered, "You're such a strange person. The lives of the people you care about are important, but the lives of others aren't. Sacrificing others to save the person you want to save is not such a good thing. As long as she can continue to live, I can give you whatever you want. I want to live." The Summit. Chapter 3383. Tangwa said seriously, "I want to live. I want to live peacefully in this world like an ordinary person, and not be used as a test subject by others. I want my existence more than to provide organs for people who want to live. If I promise you, I will die. You want the person you like to live, but I also want to live. I just want her to recover. As long as you agree, no matter what you want, I will satisfy you. I really can't lose her." Ouyang Shixian looked particularly pitiful. "I know you hate me, but she is innocent. If you want revenge, you can come to me. I don't want revenge, I want to live." "System, woman who says one thing and means another, aren't you taking revenge now?" Tangwa walked in front of Ouyang Shixian. "If one day, a very powerful person wants to save someone important to him, and needs all the organs in your lover's body, what will you do?" Ouyang Shixian raised his head and did not answer. Of course, he wanted to kill him. "I know what you think, but what if that person is so powerful that you can't resist at all? You can only watch helplessly as the person you like is emptied of all her organs and dies." "Ouyang Shixian, her life is a life, my life is also a life, everyone wants to live. If I save her, I will be the one to die. In the last days, you might as well wait here and see her more, so that you won't be able to see her in the future. Don't you like her? When she dies, you will die with her. If you can't live together, you can choose to die together. When you die, I can bury you together." A smile appeared in the corner of Tangwa's eyes. She said sarcastically, "Dying and being buried together with the person you love is not a bad thing. No, you must save her." Ouyang Shixian was a bit crazy. It seemed that he did not accept Tangwa's proposal at all. He rushed in front of Tangwa, but Jiang Axayan rushed over and punched him, knocking him out. "Little Tian, why do you care about this guy? You should arrange for him to pour feces. I have to let him out." Tangwa glanced at Ouyang Shixian, who was unconscious on the ground. "I really overestimated him. I thought he would choose to die with her. In the end, he ignored my words. So, doesn't he also want to live? Who doesn't want to live? Even those of our kind who have yet to regain their consciousness, even if their minds are blank and muddle-headed, they still want to live." Jiang Axan said, in the face of death, everyone is afraid. These ordinary humans want to take all the benefits. Little Tian, if you let him go, won't you be letting a tiger back into the mountains? Jiang Axan disagreed. Once he gets out, he'll definitely think of a way to deal with you. Don't worry, he can't do anything to us. I just think that it's best if he has nothing. This only made Ouyang Shixian's heart ache. When Ouyang Shixian woke up, he began to repeat the previous days. The surrounding screens were still showing the female lead's experience in the laboratory. The more Ouyang Shixian watched, the more he collapsed. The more he watched, the angrier he became. His eyes were full of hatred. Compared to before, even if he was angry and hateful, he did not lose his temper, make noise, or break things. Tang Guo only glanced at Ouyang Shixian, who was squatting in the corner, looking gloomy, and understood what he was thinking. The peak. Chapter 3384. When Tang Zhou has a result, I'll find a chance for him to escape. He must be thinking that if he escapes, he'll definitely be able to kill me and avenge his beloved. I want him to understand that even if he escapes, he can't do anything to me. He can only watch as everything is lost in his hands. He might have experienced despair his entire life. I want him to experience what it feels like to have no one answer to his cries. Just like how the original owner had always been studied by people in the laboratory. No one pitied her. No one thought of her as a living being. She was always just a tool to be studied. System, is this a game of cat and mouse? About a week later, Tang Zhou brought the female lead to see Tang Guo. When Tang Guo saw the female lead for the first time, she knew that Tang Zhou had told her the truth. I'm sorry. The first thing the female lead said was to apologize to Tang Guo. I didn't think that Shixian would do such a thing for me. Maybe this apology is very weak, but I still have to say it. You came to see me, in addition to apologizing to me, you also want to see him, right? Tang Guo's eyes curved into a smile. I have a deep grudge with him, so I won't let you have your way. The female lead's face was very white and her eyes were very transparent. She was a very clean person. I know you won't forgive Shixian. After all, what he did brought you serious harm. I didn't ask for that. The female lead said. After I get out, I will call the police and let them handle this. Shixian violated international regulations, so I will let him receive the punishment he deserves. No matter how many years he gets, even if it's life, I will accept it. Also, I have to thank you. If it weren't for you, I might have died long ago. Actually, the female lead was very conflicted and sad. She was very touched that her lover had risked everything to save her. But in order to save her, her lover had harmed others and taken their lives. If that really happened, she didn't know how she would live the rest of her life. She was afraid that every day she lived would be a day of pain. So, she didn't hesitate to send Shixian to prison. She wouldn't choose a divorce. No matter if he was sentenced to life or death, she would accept this result. I want to persuade Shixian to turn himself in, is that okay? In the face of the female lead's naive request, Tang Guo smiled and said, no, you can't. Do you know what kind of person Ouyang Shixian is? Do you think it will really work if he turns himself in? Even if it worked, he would only be sentenced to jail. Do you know how many people have died because of this laboratory? If I am not strong enough, everything will happen, and all the pain will fall on me. No, I've already been through that once. After Tang Guo finished speaking, she looked at Tang Zhou with a profound look in her eyes. Tang Zhou's heart skipped a beat. Could it be? Yes, it must be like that. She was not the only one who had been reborn. No wonder all of her methods were so clean and efficient. No wonder this small island became a clone country. No wonder everything was different from what he remembered. No wonder Ouyang Shixian fell so easily. Because she was reborn. He was just a powerful clone that had been reborn. In fact, it was not that scary. Vertex. Chapter 3385. What was terrible was that this clone had experienced a series of inhumane tortures. Even the little bit of feelings that she had held on to was torn apart by Ouyang Shixian. Just as the female lead was about to say something, Tang Zhou pulled her back. Sister, don't force her. It's too difficult for her. Ouyang Shixian deserves it. I know you can't accept it, but I want to tell you something. Wait until you hear it before you make a decision. The female lead did not agree with Tang Guo's decision to detain Ouyang Shixian. Of course, she also understood that it was almost impossible for her to take him away. She just wanted to fight for it. Tang Zhou's words made her feel a little strange. She was ready to listen. When the two were about to leave, Tang Guo spoke again. Wait, Ouyang Shixian did a lot of things to me. Even so, I know that you still like him very much. In the future, no matter what punishment he suffers, you will not give up on him. I saw him before. He was very persistent. He insisted on using all kinds of conditions in exchange for my death and your life. Shixian has always been like this. Once he has decided on something, even 10 cows can't pull him back. I wanted to talk about the other one. Of course, I didn't agree to die, but I gave him a very good suggestion. Let him stay in the lab with you and die with you. When the time comes, I'll give you a grand funeral and bury you together. You can't be together in life, but you can be together in death. It's not a bad thing, but he rejected it. When Tang Zhou and the female lead heard this, they didn't have anything to say. They didn't know what to say. Even the female lead didn't have anything to say to defend Ouyang Shixian. She didn't want to argue anymore. Shixian made a lot of mistakes. It's also my fault. As his wife, I never paid attention to these aspects and didn't guide him to do the right thing. You don't have to take the blame. I'll give you a chance. Tang Guo smiled. As long as he can do it in the end, I won't pursue this matter. You can do whatever you want with him. Whether you choose to hide this matter or report him, I won't care anymore. It can be considered that we're even. System, you've dug a pit. Every time the host dug a big pit, how many people could escape from it? She clearly knew that countless people were like this and would definitely choose the side that she wanted. She was really not afraid that she would fail if she repeatedly used it. What do you want me to do? The female lead was indeed tempted. If Ouyang Shixian stayed here, who knew what would happen to him? After leaving, although she would still persuade Ouyang Shixian to turn himself in, at least he would be safe in prison. Although I can't let you see him, I can let you talk to him. Don't you want to persuade him to turn himself in? Tang Guo smiled wickedly. Doesn't he like you very much? He should also listen to you. That's all you have to say. First, persuade him to turn himself in. Secondly, persuade him to donate all the company's assets that belong to him. Thirdly, advise him not to seek revenge from me. It's best if he apologizes to me and lets him understand his mistake. If he can do all three of the above, I won't pursue this matter. Do you think these 3 points are too much? The female lead quickly shook her head. Not at all. Really not at all. I will try my best to persuade him to do these. Transmigration, female lead, calm down and no mistakes will continue to be updated on the website. There are no advertisements on the website. Please bookmark and recommend the website. Like transmigration, female lead, calm down, Please bookmark. Transmigration. Female lead. Calm down. Peak. Chapter 3386. What you said is true. If he did this, you won't pursue this matter anymore. It's true. With his temperament, to be able to do this, it can be considered a great awakening. We clones don't like disputes. Our only goal is to live well. We like the sun, the green mountain forest, and the white clouds floating in the sky. We especially yearn for that kind of freedom. We don't like the cold laboratory at all. We are like animals being kept in captivity. We experience the pain of a knife cutting into our bodies. I know. I'm really sorry. The female lead bowed to Tanghua. I will work hard to make Shi Xian understand his mistake. One more thing. You can't appear in front of him like this. To be exact, you should only be able to pass through with your voice, not with your body. You also have to pretend to be on the verge of death. These are your last words to him. Tanghua said. Do you understand what I mean? I understand. Tanghua looked at the female lead's relieved expression and laughed. Did you think that Ouyang Shi Xian would listen to your last words? No, he wouldn't. Without the female lead, a clean person, by his side, he would only become darker and darker. He would become more and more unable to control himself. When the female lead died, he would become dark. It was impossible for him to do as she said. Maybe in the end, he would turn himself in. Maybe he would donate all his property. But before that, he would definitely come to her for revenge. She was digging a hole for Ouyang Shi Xian. After all, they were enemies, weren't they? Tang Zhou took the female lead back to her room. The other party asked him what he wanted to say to her. Sister, I think brother-in-law is not suitable for you. But I know your temper. Even if he is a big villain, even if you personally send him to prison, you will still like him. You will not give up on him. Even if there is a wall between them, you will still choose to be his wife. Ah, Zhou, what do you want to say to me? I want to say something very strange. I don't know if sister will believe it after hearing it. But I just want to tell sister that she is the same as me. Maybe she has such an experience. That's why she won't let Ouyang Shi Xian go. If it weren't for sister, I would have used all means to make Ouyang Shi Xian die a horrible death. The female lead was indeed frightened because Tang Zhou was her younger brother. Even if he wasn't a merciful person, he wasn't someone who liked to harm others. One day, she heard from her brother that he didn't want to let someone go and wanted that person to die a horrible death. So, what did Shi Xian do to hurt Ah Zhou? Ah Zhou was her biological brother, the brother she cared about the most. Shi Xian, please don't do anything overboard. When Tang Zhou finished talking about his rebirth, including what Tang Guo went through, and even said that Tang Guo was reborn to take revenge, the female lead was stunned. She didn't think that Ouyang Shi Xian would really do something so outrageous. When she heard that Ouyang Shi Xian had sent people to tamper with his car, causing him to get into a serious car accident during a competition and die on the spot, the female lead almost fainted. Sis, I'm telling the truth. I thought that I could change everything after I was reborn. Later on, I realized that I wasn't strong enough. If it weren't for her, history might have repeated itself. Tang Zhou said seriously, no matter what sister thinks, I will not recognize Ouyang Shi Xian as my brother-in-law. The peak. Chapter 3387. Ah Zhou, my heart is in a mess. I want to be alone. Okay. I will still go to the one she mentioned. If he is not sentenced to life imprisonment, I will divorce him after he gets out of prison. Tang Zhou sighed. What if he can't do it? Can't do it. Can't he do it? The female lead's voice was full of confusion. Could it be that Shi Xian really couldn't do it? A few days later, the female lead was ready and began to persuade Ouyang Shi Xian. Tanguo controlled the illusion and let the people in the nutrition tank wake up for a while every day. Looking at Ouyang Shi Xian, who nodded with red eyes every day and agreed to everything the female lead said, she felt a little bored. Xiao Tian, why don't we start the rescue plan? Many of our kind have been waiting for a long time. Now that the information is almost checked and the people have been trained, we can start now. Tang Guo agreed. From this day onwards, countless hidden secret laboratories about cloning in the world slowly disappeared. What was strange was that all the people in the entire laboratory disappeared without a trace. A long time later, people from all over the world found that the disappeared laboratories were all about cloning, so those who wanted to study cloning no longer dared to carry out such experiments. What was heartbreaking was that those talents were also gone. They didn't know that these people were all sent to the clone country. The obedient ones were the teachers of the clones, and the disobedient ones were sent to dump feces, cook, and do all kinds of rough work. Although they lived in the fantasy city, their specialties were very different and they were very distressed. At first, they thought that the clones were very stupid. They thought that it was a waste of talent to use them. Later, they realized that the clones could learn everything quickly. They quickly squeezed out what they knew and could even draw inferences about other things. Later, they found out that if they performed well, they could be promoted and treated better, so they worked hard. Maybe the people outside didn't know that there was a group of former talents here. Now, they were fighting for the position of leader of the feces dump team. On this day, the female lead died. No one talked to Ouyang Shi Xian anymore, except for him crying sadly that day. After that, he looked at everything on the screen in pain and seemed to be very silent. Tang Zhou went out. For the sake of the female lead's safety, Tang Zhou decided to let her stay here. At least this powerful king of the clone country had saved his sister, which meant that her heart was not that dark. She was safer than Ouyang Shi Xian. It was the safest place to stay. About 3 months later, Ouyang Shi Xian escaped. The system asked Tang Guo why she needed so long. Tang Guo said it was because it was too short. Ouyang Shi Xian would be suspicious. If it was more than half a year, she wouldn't have been able to wait. 3 months was the most suitable. The female lead was paying attention to the news outside every day. When she heard that Ouyang Shi Xian was holding a funeral for her, she became silent and her emotions were complicated. Because the clones were out of control, Ouyang Shi Xian's company had a huge problem. Although it was resolved in the end, it was still a huge blow to its vitality, and its reputation was not as good as before. Fortunately, he was really capable. The company was saved, and after a few months, it would slowly recover. The female lead was waiting. She was waiting for Ouyang Shi Xian to donate the company's assets and turn himself in. After waiting for a long time, about a year or so, she didn't get what she wanted. Instead, Ouyang Shi Xian brought people and weapons to besiege the island. Chapter 3388. Although he couldn't do this in his own country, this island wasn't in his country's territory. It was surrounded by small countries. Ouyang Shi Xian had made up his mind. Even if he had to spend all his fortune, he would destroy this island. It's a pity that he didn't do any of the things you said. Tang Guo stood on the highest floor. From here, she could see very far. She handed the binoculars in her hand to the female lead. Take a look. Those warships are worth a lot. In just a year, he prepared so many. It's really amazing. He probably spent most of his fortune. You said before that he tried his best to save the company because the company's influence was too great. Once it was declared bankrupt, countless people would lose their jobs. The female lead held the binoculars and looked at the warships. You see, he came to me for revenge first. Tell me, do I owe him? Tangua smiled faintly. If we weren't strong enough, this world wouldn't be able to accommodate us. The female lead's lips moved. She didn't know what to say. She was disappointed in Shi Xian. In fact, when she heard Tang Shou say those things, she was already disappointed. Let me out. I'll let him go back. The female lead returned the binoculars to Tangua. As long as I'm alive, I'll make sure that you won't be hurt by him. You can only make sure that he won't hurt us, but you can't make sure that other people, other countries, and the whole world, right? The female lead had nothing to say. Yes, she couldn't. Her only assurance was to restrain Ouyang Shixian. What kind of person is he? Don't you know? Even if he doesn't do it himself, he will try his best to make others do it. I know you have good intentions, but you alone can't protect us. With so many warships surrounding us, once he gives the order, this place will definitely be blown to pieces. We can't withstand it at all. This was what the female lead was worried about. Maybe the love in her heart couldn't disappear quickly, but she couldn't accept this kind of Ouyang Shixian. He clearly promised, but he couldn't do a single thing. Let me out. I should still be useful. I used my life to threaten him. Maybe he won't target this place. We made a deal beforehand. You've already lost, Tangua said with a chuckle. Do you still want to be with him? No, I can't accept it. Ah, Zhou told me many things. I can't accept being with him again. Then why force yourself to go to his side? A pained expression appeared on the female lead's face. If I don't go, what will happen to all of you? With such a big lineup, he must be determined to blow this place up. When the time comes, none of you will be able to escape. Actually, I was doing this for my own peace of mind. He had done too many wrong things, and I could only do my best to stop him. I didn't want to see him continue making mistakes. If I can't protect you, I won't be able to live in peace for the rest of my life. Then you don't have to. He can't do anything to us. You should be worried about what I'll do to him. Tangguo reached out and touched the female lead's face. Do you want him to live or die? System, host. Why don't you look at Jiang Xian beside you? His eyes haven't moved. You actually touched another woman's face in front of him. Won't you hurt his young heart? Jiang Xian was indeed very jealous. As expected, this woman who looked exactly like Little Tian was very annoying. Little Tian hadn't touched his face before, but this woman took advantage of it. Will you kill him? The female lead asked. She was very conflicted. There were some realistic questions that she didn't know how to answer. Chapter 3389. If possible, she still wanted him to live. Actually, you want him to live, right? That's what I want too. If he dies, everything will be over. That'll be too easy for him. So, you plan to make all his preparations go up in smoke. Make him lose his lover and everything. Turn him from a genius to an ordinary person. Tangua touched the female lead's face again. Do you still want to be with him? No. I'll change your face. You can change your identity. For example, you can be the adopted daughter of the Tang family. Even if you two meet in the future, he won't recognize you. System, as expected, this woman is extremely ruthless. Change my face. Yes, change your face. Don't worry, it's different from plastic surgery. There won't be any side effects. You can have any appearance you want. Keep using this face. Although the world is big, sometimes fate comes and you can't stop it. You'll meet sooner or later. In the future, with his identity, he won't be able to see you. Even if he sees you, he won't talk to you or recognize you. Let him live, let him lose everything. When he meets his lover, he won't be able to recognize her. It'll be very painful. You can refuse. Tanggua stuffed the binoculars into the female lead's hands. Although it's a bit troublesome, it's no problem. But when the time comes, he'll probably pester you and do something else. I don't know. You should know that he's capable of doing anything. He might hurt you or the people who hid you, such as your brother, Tang Zhou. Your brother didn't dote on you for nothing. He's a good person. I agree. Help me change my face. This person didn't just like her. He could hurt anyone he liked, even her family. Forgive her for not being able to accept it. She loved him and cared about him, but she couldn't accept the things he did. Your choice is wise. Although it'll be painful and uncomfortable for you when you think of these things in the future, it'll be better. It's better than everything developing in the way he wants. System, host, you're very villainous this time. That's because I didn't use this skill in the past. The stage wasn't big enough, and the script wasn't interesting enough. System, but great host, I have to remind you that Jiang Xian's gaze has always been strange. The way he looks at the female lead is even more strange. If it weren't for you, he would have knocked the female lead unconscious and thrown her out. Ouyang Shixian spent most of his wealth to buy warships, weapons, and hired people to destroy a small island. However, when he gave the order for the warship to sail over, a fog suddenly appeared on the surface of the sea, followed by a strong wind. He was knocked over by a wave, and when he woke up again, he was on a deserted island. It was not easy for him to return to the mainland. It was already a year later, and the company had already changed owners. Then, it was bought by someone else. He had planned to make a comeback several times, but it was as if there was an invisible hand suppressing him, causing him to fail time and time again. Then, he used the remaining money to hire servants to kill all the clones on the island. In the end, no one came back. What he didn't know was that these people were assigned to do dirty and tiring work in the clone country. They couldn't escape at all. They hated him to death. As for the people on the ships that had disappeared, they had become odd jobs in the clone country. Finally, Ouyang Shixian had nothing left. The female lead's face was also changed by Tanggua. The iconic features on her body were also removed, and her name was changed. She became an adopted daughter of the family Tang. In the past 2 years, she began to appear outside. Ouyang Shixian heard about this and secretly went to see. As a result, he found a very ordinary face and couldn't help but be disappointed. As for the person's appearance, he thought that it was because the family Tang couple missed their daughter too much. They couldn't find the same one, so they found one with the same appearance as the female lead. Ouyang Shixian had always wanted to make a comeback, but he had offended too many people and had no funds. No one would support him. His relatives also avoided him like the plague, fearing that they would end up like him. Like to wear it quickly, supporting female lead, please calm down. Wear it quickly, supporting female lead, please calm down. Peak. Chapter 3390. Ouyang Shixian, who was unwilling to give up, finally exposed the news of the island. The whole world was shocked. When the female lead heard the news, the last light in her heart was extinguished. She no longer asked anyone to inquire about Ouyang Shixian's situation. Sister, I don't know how to persuade you, but he deserves it. Tang Zhou was very happy. Fortunately, she was reborn. Otherwise, Ouyang Xixian would still be in the spotlight. She was so capable. Even if the clone country was exposed, she could still protect herself. They were both reborn. Why was there such a big difference? Tang Zhou thought of the days they spent together and couldn't help but smile. Actually, she wasn't a bad person. Maybe she listened to his words and didn't hurt any innocent people. He even asked her about those people who disappeared. He was lucky enough to get her contact information. Now, he still contacted her from time to time. It was said that those people who attacked the island went to do dirty work. One of them was to help all the clones pour feces. It was funny just thinking about it. "Aw, Zhou, I'm just worried about the safety of the island." "Sister, don't worry about this. With her around, the island will be fine." The female lead didn't believe it at first. However, 3 days later, Tang Gua announced the establishment of the clone country to the world. She even said that if anyone was unhappy, they could come and beat her up. "System, host, you're a little arrogant. This is called forcing a rise." "System, it's still a little chinibu. What if they really come and beat you up? There aren't many people in the clone country, especially those who do odd jobs. It's best if they come and go to work." "System, okay," he understood the host's big goal. She was so chinibu. She wanted to lure ordinary people to make mistakes and then make them stay to work to atone for their mistakes. At first, some big countries didn't believe it and secretly sent people to destroy the clone country. In the end, none of the people sent returned. Tang Gua even wrote a letter to them. "Hello, President of XX country. We caught people from your country. Because they made a mistake, they entered our clone country without a passport. The law of our clone country is that anyone who illegally enters without a passport will serve a sentence here. Normally, it's 3 years to life." They were armed and did not cause panic among the citizens for the time being. Therefore, after a trial, we decided to sentence them to 20 years in prison. After 20 years, they would be released after completing their sentences. If they performed well, they would only receive preferential treatment and would not have their sentences reduced. If you don't agree with this decision, you won't be able to appeal again. However, you can send people to attack my clone country. A certain big country still refused to believe it. They threatened that if they didn't let them go, then they shouldn't blame them for being rude. However, it was useless. Tang Guo was not afraid at all. The other party intended to use satellites, stars, guides, and bombs to track her. However, when they realized that there was no signal at all, they did not dare to simply bombard her. After all, there were many places around that did not belong to the clone country. In the end, he could only endure it. The rise of Clone Island shocked the world. They realized that unless they had a passport, they would not be able to enter clone country. No signal tracking was of any use. The clone nation issued a statement: "We just want to live in this pure land. We have no intention of threatening the safety of the world. We welcome trade with all countries." In the beginning, there were still those who had the idea. Later, they realized that it was really impossible. Furthermore, the clone country became more and more stable. Gradually, everyone got used to the existence of the clone country. In the regulations of the world regarding human cloning, Tang Guo raised many opinions. Most countries were not willing to support or agree to it. Although there was a big country supporting it, the support of a big country was not effective. Then, Tang Guo directly said, "It's okay. If you don't agree, we have our own ways to protect our people. I hope that everyone will be more aware and not let us find out that other countries are researching human cloning. Otherwise, we won't know what will happen." They had never seen such an unreasonable person. They did not dare to be fierce. Otherwise, her next sentence would be, "If you don't agree, come and beat me up." Actually, they did not support the human cloning experiments. Many laboratories were set up by some people privately. However, they were still happy to make things difficult for her. However, when they heard that some laboratories were disappearing one by one, along with the people, they could not sit still. Chapter 3391. They wrote letters to Tangua, and Tangua's reply was, "Anyone who harms their own kind will be sentenced to life imprisonment in our clone country, and they will have to serve the clones for the rest of their lives." The leaders of some countries were so angry that they were trembling. They had publicly condemned it countless times, and the foreign media had also reported it countless times. They even caused the citizens to be angry, but it seemed to be useless. They didn't care about this at all, especially when they found out that some small countries around the clone country had become friends with the clone country. A big country had also become friends with the clone country. Every time Tangua expressed her opinion, they would choose to support her. Clone country had gained a firm foothold. It was powerful and mysterious, and no one could figure it out. No one dared to have any ideas about it anymore. Tang Zhou was lucky enough to travel to clone country. When clone country was opened, many people went there. Then, they saw skyscrapers and underwater cities. It was as if they had entered a fairy tale world. Those who had been there would think that it was a very powerful small country. Later, clone country became a tourist attraction. Because there was no big threat, many people turned a blind eye to it. "I didn't expect you to be so powerful." When Tang Zhou found out about all this, he felt happy from the bottom of his heart. "I'm relieved to see you. You're doing well now." Tang Zhou smiled and gave a rose to Tangua. "Do you want to have a meal together?" System, host, peach blossoms. "I don't think so. Xiao Tian promised to eat with me tonight." Jiang Axian appeared out of nowhere and glanced at the rose in Tang Zhou's hand. The roses in clone country have an entire floor, and it's called the Rose Building. If you're free, you can go and take a look. They're fresher than the ones in your hand. Tang Zhou understood something and looked at Tangua, waiting for her reaction. However, the people in clone country were famous for their unfriendly tone. "Ah, Axian is right. You can go and take a look when you're free. Does your sister like these flowers? You can bring some for her." Tang Zhou understood and felt a little regretful. "My sister doesn't like roses. She likes wintersweet. We have wintersweet here too. You can go to the wintersweet house to take a look. We have all kinds of wintersweet." Jiang Axian suggested, "It's just that the price is a little expensive, but you don't lack it. If you order a lot, we can deliver it to your doorstep and help you plant it." "Ah, Axian's suggestion is very good." Tang Zhou completely discarded his thoughts and bid farewell to the two of them. He'd better bring back 2 wintersweet for his sister and bring her here to see if there was a chance. Ouyang Shixian really didn't understand why he exposed the matter of the island and ended up creating a clone country. Shouldn't all the countries around the world be eager to seize the island and claim it as their own? However, the current situation was that clone country was extremely powerful and had even become a tourist attraction. Many countries even opened a special line for the clone countries. It was said that those who had been to clone country were all shocked by their architecture. In the underground city, one could directly see the underwater scenery. There was a city in the sky above. When one opened the door, they could see the white clouds. It was very close. It was simply a paradise on Earth. He didn't know how they handled it, but it didn't make him feel uncomfortable. Countless people in the world had the same wish, which was to travel to Clone Island once. Those who were against cloning Island were also gradually accepted. This was especially true for the country that he was from. They had cooperated countless times with each other and had formed a deep friendship. Not only did Clone Island engage in tourism, but they also cultivated plants and flowers. It was very outstanding. In fact, they even had countless research institutes. Every member of their research institute was an outstanding research talent. The things that they developed were always the best-selling and the whole world fought to imitate them. Later on, Clone Country even developed weapons, causing many big countries to treat them kindly. However, he was cursing in his heart. Was this a small country? Hurry up and stop those who were secretly doing experiments in the country. Don't let there be more clones in the world. They were all so perverted. Humans would probably become their slaves. Because the country he was from had a good relationship with Clone Country, he was able to get first-hand good things every time. As for Ouyang Xixin, he was gradually forgotten by people. The fact that he had once attacked the island was also exposed. Some people said that it was because he was angry that he exposed Clone Country. As for the laboratory being Ouyang Xixian's, no one could prove it. There was also no evidence, so they couldn't arrest him. Chapter 3392. This was exactly what Tang Guo wanted, and she was very satisfied with it. Ouyang Xixian had been wandering around the dock because it was always full of people. Every day, there were people going to Clone Country. On this day, he saw a familiar person on the dock. It was Tang Zhou who brought the female lead to Clone Island to play for a few days. The two sides met face to face. Tang Zhou saw that Ouyang Xixian was wearing wrinkled clothes and still had that gloomy look. He didn't have any sympathy. Because Ouyang Xixian actually looked at his sister with a very hateful gaze. He really wanted to laugh out loud. How is this person like Xiaoguo? Isn't it just a bit similar? You brought her back and held her in the palm of your hand. You treated her like a treasure and took everything that belonged to Xiaoguo. Ouyang Xixian criticized. Is she worthy? The female lead looked back at Ouyang Xixian and saw his face full of hatred. It was as if she was something that couldn't be seen. She suddenly laughed. Actually, he didn't love her that much, right? Right. Ah, Zhou, is the ship leaving? Oh, sister, let's go. Don't bother with this madman. Tang Zhou, you did this to Xiaoguo. Ouyang Xixian shouted. Have you forgotten how Xiaoguo died? You even took her to that bullshit Clone Country. He was familiar with that ship. It was heading to Clone Country. Tang Zhou turned back and said with deep meaning, I will never forget that you killed my sister. Do you love my sister? If you love her, why didn't you do the simplest thing that she asked you to do? You may love her, but your love is very selfish. It's all to satisfy yourself. You only love yourself more. People are selfish, but you never admit it in front of my sister. No, the person I love is Xiaoguo. I love her. I only have her in my heart. For her, I am willing to do anything. Tang Zhou didn't respond. The female lead also didn't want to turn back. She didn't love him anymore. She used to hope that he would admit his mistakes. She had been waiting for him, but now there was no need. She couldn't help but recall the day when they first met. That day, she had walked into the wrong private room. It just so happened that Ouyang Xixian and some other people were inside. She didn't know what they were talking about, but Ouyang Xixian pulled her back. This woman is better than them. If I were to choose a woman, it would definitely be someone like her. At that time, she was still very young, just 10 years old. She was a little confused. Ouyang Xixian whispered in her ear, how about being my girlfriend? All right. She nodded subconsciously. Then, she didn't know why, but she fell madly in love with this person. Even if she ran into countless obstacles and suffered a lot, she still loved him without hesitation. In the beginning, he didn't love her. He even said that he was just trying to cope with the situation that day. It was her persistence and perseverance that had brought them together in the end. She had also received that sentence, "I love you." "Sis, what's wrong?" "I thought of some past events," she said. "Aw, Jo, if you have a daughter in the future, you must take her out to see the world more often." "Oh, okay. But I don't even have a wife, how can I have a daughter? Besides, I don't even know if the child will be a boy or a girl. You have to teach your son well. In the future, I will help you look after the child. Children have to be guided from a young age. Otherwise, when they grow up in the future, they will do bad things without knowing. Sis, you don't have to worry about it." "Oh right, you haven't forgotten about her. He is a king and is already married. The couple is very loving. Don't ruin their relationship." "Sis, don't worry. I am not that bored. I just need some time." Did his sister mean that she would be alone in the future? Tang Zhou didn't ask. This result was okay. Chapter 3393. Boss Tang, your stomach is not good. You can't drink any more wine. When Tang Guo was awake, she heard this sentence. Judging from the voice, it should be a woman, and this woman should be about 30 years old. Her voice was serious and sounded a little rigid. It was rare that there was some concern and worry. This should be someone close to the original owner. Calling her boss Tang, this meant that she was still in the modern world and was a president. Then she should not be too young. It was impossible for her to be a girl under 20 years old. Her initial guess was that she should be between 25 and 30 years old. As for the person who persuaded her, it should be her assistant or secretary, who should be a very trusted person in the company. After a moment of absent-mindedness, she woke up and saw a well-maintained hand holding the wine glass in her hand. She looked up and saw a woman in a suit and skirt, wearing glasses and a light professional outfit looking at her with a frown. Boss Tang, there are so many men in the world. You are a big president. Why do you have to torture your body for a mere Fu fan? Look at you. You are just over 25 years old. Because of your body's illness, you have to go to the hospital once. The first time, you had gastric bleeding. The second time, you had gastritis. The third time, you didn't eat on time and had gastric pain in the middle of the night. The doctor just told you that you should not drink in your current condition. It's fine if you drink a small glass, but you drink one glass after another. Do you think this is wine and coffee? If you continue like this, I don't know what will happen to your body. This woman with glasses and a serious tone became angrier and angrier as she spoke. She looked as if she expected better from Tangua, which made Tangua laugh. She did not expect that there was such a person around the original owner. She did not know what the relationship between them was. Ordinary secretaries did not dare to speak like this. Fu Fan already has someone he likes. President Tang, if you think that he's insensible, ungrateful, and unhappy with him, with the power and resources in your hands, can't you make things difficult for him and let him know who the real investor is? Isn't that good? Mei Min frowned. He is just a young boy. I don't know what holy water he gave you. See, he doesn't think that way at all. All right, I won't drink anymore. Tang Guo also felt a little dizzy. She looked at the empty bottle of red wine on the table, and then looked at the other bottle, which was still half empty. It seemed that the original owner was unhappy and mistook the red wine for Lao Bai. She let go of her hand and handed the goblet to Mei Min. I want to rest for a while and be alone. This secretary was obviously a shrewd person. In order to avoid any flaws, she should first receive the memory. It's really rare for Boss Tang to listen to me all at once. Mei Min was a little surprised. I thought that you would only let me out in the end after I've worn my mouth out. She adjusted her glasses with a strange expression. Seeing that Tang Gua had already closed her glasses and seemed to be a little tired, she did not say anything more about Fu Fan. Boss Tang, I'll go out first. Call me when you're done resting. Also, I'll go out and ask them to prepare some hangover soup for you. You should feel better after drinking the hangover soup. Mei Min said these words and saw that Tang Gua nodded gently. Her heart relaxed a little. Although her boss Tang was a few years younger than her, he was very capable. His parents had an accident when he was 17, so he ended his study abroad and returned home to take charge of the Tang group. Chapter 3394. From a 17-year-old girl to where she was today, there were a lot of bumps and bruises in her journey. The business world was like a battlefield. Not a single day was easy. A young girl who was originally enjoying the happiness of a family was forced to such a point. Fortunately, she got through it all. The young girl who had missed out on everything in her youth suddenly fell in love with someone. It was inevitable that she was really moved. Mei Min hugged the half-empty bottle of red wine and reflected for a moment. Was she a little too direct with her words just now? Boss Tang hadn't had it easy for so many years. However, when she thought of his physical condition, she felt that she was right. Speaking of which, it was fate that she came to this company and became Tang Gua's secretary. The year Boss Tang took over the company was the year she had just graduated from university. As a graduate, unless they were absolutely capable and professional, it wasn't easy to find a job that they were satisfied with. Moreover, her grades in school were not particularly good, and the university that she was admitted to was ordinary. In today's society, university students were everywhere. Generally, students from colleges and universities were like this when they looked for jobs. It was especially difficult for them to get a job. She majored in administration. To be honest, this major didn't have much of a future unless it was a top-notch one. However, she didn't understand these things at that time. How could she know how to choose a major? She was like a headless fly, running around everywhere. No one helped her consult, so she got into it in a daze. After she graduated, when she looked for a job, she realized that she had no advantage at all. The only advantage she had was probably that she had a good figure and looked okay. It was because of this that she almost got into trouble. Before this, she had done 3 jobs. Not long after she entered the company, she realized that her superiors were interested in her. Those superiors were middle-aged men in their 30s, 40s, or 50s. They had wives and children at home. Their minds were filled with thoughts of how to trick young girls like her, who had just graduated, into their hands and coax her to be their mistress. Perhaps they could tell that she needed this job, so they treated her with kindness and authority. However, she always remembered what her parents said. No matter how poor or hard life was, she had to be upright and upright. She must never do anything that went against her principles and morals. Therefore, every time she found out about such things, she chose to resign. When she quit her 3rd job, she was in despair. She wandered around the job market and broke down completely. At that time, she had even climbed to the top of the building. The pressure of the work environment made it hard for her to breathe. She didn't dare to tell her parents because she was afraid that they would be worried. Just as she slowly walked to the roof, a particularly pleasant voice sounded behind her. I saw you wandering around the hall for a long time, but in the end, you didn't hand over a resume. Did you not see anything that you are satisfied with? What's your major? Do you know some basic office software? This voice that was like a clear spring finally pulled her back to reality. When she turned around and saw a young lady smiling at her, she mistakenly thought that she was also looking for a job. She asked, "Young lady, are you an adult? Looking for a job at such a young age? At your age, you should be in school." "I'm not here to look for a job. I'm here to hire employees. After looking around, I couldn't find anyone that I was satisfied with. Then, I saw you. I think we're a little similar. Since we haven't found anyone suitable, why don't we sit down and talk? Maybe we'll be suitable. Come, let's talk here. I need a secretary." Chapter 3395. She did not expect that she would be fooled by this young girl who was almost 10 years old to come to this company. In the past, this company was neither big nor small. Now, it was a large listed company and ranked within the top 5 in the country. One could imagine what kind of achievements this little girl had made in less than 10 years. And she, Mei Min, was lucky enough to become the person closest to Boss Tang. Because of that meeting, her fate was changed. Everything was good. The only bad thing was that Boss Tang seemed to have a late crush on her. When he fell in love with a young man, it was like being fed soup and could not be persuaded. From the beginning, she did not think that there was anything good about Fu Fan. However, Boss Tang did not seem to care about this. He said that he just wanted to flatter him. If he was happy, she would naturally be happy. Just a few days ago, Fu Fan announced that he was in love and publicly expressed the person he liked. It was a fair-looking young girl. She looked very clean and came from an ordinary background. She could not compare to Boss Tang in any aspect. It should be said that there was no comparison at all. One was heaven, one was earth. However, Fu Fan liked this kind of girl. He even told Boss Tang that he had always treated her as an older sister. Fu Fan was 2 years younger than Boss Tang. She did not understand. Since he had always treated Boss Tang as an older sister and did not like Boss Tang, why did he accept everything that Boss Tang gave him with a clear conscience? What was even funnier was that Fu Fan said that he could return everything that Boss Tang gave him to her. He hoped that Boss Tang would not disturb his life in the future and even hurt that innocent girl. That girl's name was Lan Yeling. It was indeed very pleasant to hear. Moreover, he had always treated her as an older sister. After knowing this, if it were not for Boss Tang's organization, Mei Min would not have been able to help but trip Fu Fan up. Go and make some hangover soup for Boss Tang. Send it over in 30 minutes. Don't disturb Boss Tang now. She's resting. Mei Min retracted her attention and handed the wine bottle to the waiter. Take this away. Boss Tang wants wine later. We can't give it to her. If she's angry, come and find me. She was hospitalized 3 times in a year. How could her young body withstand such torment? It was all that bullshit Fu Fan's fault. If it weren't for him, would Boss Tang have become like this? Thinking about it, he was really unwilling to accept it. She just didn't understand. There were so many good men who pursued Boss Tang. Among them, there were many who had good backgrounds, good characters, and kept themselves clean. However, Boss Tang just didn't like them. She was also very helpless. Tang Guo was also receiving the memories at this moment. After reading the memories, she was silent for a while. Then, she opened the group chat and greeted her friends. Shangguan Yungu, Martial Uncle, have you arrived in a new world? What happened to the original owner of the body this time? Ziyun, I'm relieved to see my sister here. To be honest, every time my sister leaves the worldlet, I'm so worried that something might happen to her. Qi Shao, that's right. It's a pity that even if our cultivation has reached the peak of the immortal world, although we can break some space barriers, we still can't travel through the worldlet like our sister. Mo Yuntian, that's why we can't help our sister. If we could visit you at any time, we wouldn't have to worry so much. Margaret, I bless the school bell every day. Chapter 3396. Margaret, although I'm best at cursing, I'm also good at giving blessings. I bless the school bell every day, wishing her safety, happiness, and safety so that she can come to my world of magic as soon as possible. So, school bell, did you come to the world of magic this time? Shengguan Yungu, I don't think so. Otherwise, Martial Uncle wouldn't have reacted like this. Margaret, brat, do you want to be beaten? Shengguan Yungu, Senior Margaret, although you're very powerful, our worlds are too far apart. You shouldn't be able to come to my world, nor can you hit me. Margaret, but I can curse you and make you unlucky. You won't be able to eat or drink. Shengguan Yungu, according to the cultivation encyclopedia that my master, Martial Uncles, and Martial Uncles gave me, according to the Almighty's guess, the rules of every small world should be different. Cursing me in your world won't work. Unless you come to my world and curse me face to face. The main thing is that I'm not in your world, so the rules of your world can't find me. You can't find me even if you want to. Margaret, brat, aren't you afraid of biting your tongue by saying such big words? Let me tell you, there are so many worlds, and there are so many strange things. If I see you in the future, I will throw you into the magic beast forest and let you stay there for a year. Then you will know what despair is. Shengguan Yungu, Senior Margaret, I think you should calculate when Martial Uncle will go to your world. Margaret, Mo Yuntian, why don't you control your disciple? Mo Yuntian, Margaret, calm down. Actually, this Yungu is also telling the truth, although it's not pleasant to hear. Margaret, I'm so angry. You've changed. The tone of your voice has also changed. Your attitude towards me is different from before. So, is it really true that the school bell's words of seeing the new people smile and not the old people cry? Ziyun, Margaret, that's not how you should use this sentence. School bell, actually, it can be used. According to the situation in the modern world, it can be used with quotation marks. Margaret, school bell, you didn't come to the world of magic this time. In fact, Margaret also understood that if Tang Guo was really in the world of magic, she might directly call her and ask about the situation in the world she was in. She was just asking, but she still felt unreconciled. Campus bell, Margaret, it's a pity that we haven't reached your world yet. However, in my world, there should be many beautiful dresses. When the time comes, I will take some photos and send them. My status is not bad. When the time comes, I can send some gifts to you. Hurry up and make a list of what you want. You've helped me a lot before, and I haven't had the chance to thank you. Margaret, although you didn't come, it's a relief to be able to receive the dress. My mood isn't too bad. After that, Tangua started talking to the people in the group about the stories that happened in this world. Her identity was a listed company that was ranked within the top 5 in the country. She was less than 26 years old and had taken control of this company when she was less than 10 years old. She had built this small company in less than 10 years. She could be considered a legend. All of this originated from her parents' accident when she was 17 years old. At such a young age, she had no choice but to shoulder this heavy burden. She was supposed to be at a happy and relaxed age, but she had to shoulder so much. It was indeed tiring and bitter. The cause of the matter was that she fell in love with someone. This person was called Fu Fan. A few years ago, he was still a newcomer in the entertainment industry. With her help, he had now gained a firm foothold in the entertainment industry. Chapter 3397. Although Fu Fan was only in his 20s, he was talented and had an outstanding appearance. With her resources supporting him, it wasn't surprising that he would become popular. And this Fu Fan didn't take the route of an ordinary little fresh meat. He was a real actor. Every script he participated in had a good reputation in the eyes of the audience. In fact, every time he was able to choose a good script, it was because of the resources of the original owner, who was the CEO of a top 5 listed company. Without the original owner's resources, Fu Fan's road in the entertainment industry wouldn't have been so smooth. He wouldn't have been able to choose his own scripts. Most likely, he would have been packaged into the same route as most of the little fresh meats. With his qualifications, he might still be popular. But in this industry, what he would experience and what he would have to pay would be unknown. And those productions with good reputation might not belong to him anymore. After all, how could a slightly famous director let a newcomer in the entertainment industry be the main lead? Fu Fan, who was not even 25 years old, had already won the Best Actor award once and the Best Actor award twice. And that person called Lon Yaling, who was the person Fu Fan liked, was actually a small assistant by Fu Fan's side. After countless interactions, Fu Fan confirmed his thoughts and decided to be with Lon Yaling. Although he couldn't disclose their relationship for the time being, he had to express his feelings to Lon Yaling. Of course, he knew that the original owner liked him. Like all men, he didn't take the initiative, didn't refuse, and didn't take responsibility. Many men in the world were like this. At first, the original owner liked him. He didn't like anyone, so he didn't think it was a big deal. Everyone in the industry knew that Fu Fan was the original owner's man. Fu Fan didn't deny this before. Now that he was moved by Lon Yaling, he couldn't let those rumors spread. And the original owner and Fu Fan's relationship was basically to have a meal together. Then, she would ask him about his situation and propose to him what resources to give him. Fu Fan only needed to accept it. He never needed to ask for it. This was because the original owner felt that if Fu Fan took the initiative to ask, it would be easy to make him lose face. Since she liked someone, of course, she had to bring the best things in front of him. But when Fu Fan was moved by Lon Yaling, when he was asked about his relationship with the original owner, he denied that they were a couple. Instead, he said that he had always treated the original owner as a good sister. This was also the reason why the original owner drank too much this time. In the past, he drank because he had to socialize. This time, he drank because he was heartbroken. After this incident, the original owner didn't do anything to Fu Fan. She didn't even use any resources to make Fu Fan suffer. But because Fu Fan denied his relationship with the original owner and was found out that the person he liked might be his little assistant, those who didn't like Fu Fan planned to take action against him. Without the protection of the original owner, what were they afraid of? Even if he was a popular celebrity, it would not be easy for him to gain a foothold in the industry without any backing. Moreover, Fu Fan was a rather aloof person and had offended quite a number of people. In the beginning, Fu Fan was indeed in a difficult situation. He even had his script, role, and variety show snatched away from him. During those 3 months, each day felt like a year. When the original owner came back to her senses, she didn't hesitate to help Fu Fan after knowing all this. Chapter 3398. Just like what she said at the beginning, if you like someone, you can't bear to see him wronged. you'll give him everything he wants. She was completely the role of an affectionate supporting female lead. Later, the original owner and Fu Fan met a few times. Fu Fan also knew that she helped to solve this problem, so he was quite grateful. However, when he returned home, he found that Lan Yeling was a little unhappy. Lan Yeling didn't say anything bad about the original owner. She just felt guilty towards Fu Fan. She said that it was all because of her that his future was almost ruined. She said that she was useless. She also said that choosing the original owner was his best choice. The male and female leads in this world didn't have a particularly high status. Other than the time when the original owner took care of him, Fu Fan and Lan Yeling did have a lot of difficulties after being together. But they were the male and female leads. Without the backing of the original owner, they would meet more noble people. In the end, they wouldn't have to be afraid of anyone. Because of Lan Yeling's words, Fu Fan met with the original owner again. He firmly expressed his attitude and said that he was very grateful for her help before. They had nothing to do with each other. He hoped that she wouldn't interfere in his matters. Whatever problems he encountered, he would solve it himself. Fu Fan's words did hurt the original owner. However, she was a person who was in charge of a company before she was 10 years old. She had already trained a face that didn't change in any situation. No matter what Fu Fan said, she had a very indifferent look. It was as if she didn't care about anything. It was hard to figure out. In fact, from Fu Fan's mental activity, he should have liked the original owner. Maybe it was the original owner's personality, or maybe it was the original owner's unfathomable feelings. Fu Fan couldn't figure it out, and that little bit of liking slowly disappeared. Lan Yeling was like a little girl. She told him everything. She was more timid, making him feel like he was needed. But with the original owner, he always felt that he was protected under her wings. He even felt like he was being played with like a doll. Maybe she didn't like him at all. She just treated him as a toy. In front of Lan Yeling, he felt like a trickling stream. It was like a clear spring, making people feel comfortable. In front of the original owner, he felt like he was facing an endless sea. On the surface, it looked very calm, but no one knew that this mysterious sea would have such a turbulent storm and huge waves. The original owner was indeed sad, but she had never hurt Fu Fan. After that, they never met again. However, the original owner didn't stop helping Fu Fan. It was just that this time, she secretly helped him and didn't mention these things to Fu Fan. Moreover, her methods were very covert, which only made people feel that Fu Fan was very lucky. She even used some hidden connections to get people to help take care of Fu Fan. She also asked them to keep the secret and asked them not to make things difficult for Fu Fan. He also said that liking a person was his own business. Not liking a person was also that person's business. There was nothing to lose. Fu Fan didn't know any of this. Relying on the thrilling crises that he had overcome time and time again, he had gotten to know many people and his status had slowly risen. With those connections, he had also started a company and his status was even higher. Those who wanted to make things difficult for him had to think twice before making things difficult for him. He was no longer afraid of some people in the circle. After all, he had invested in many of the movies and TV series that he acted in. Who could make things difficult for him? Like to wear it quickly, supporting female lead, calm down. Please collect it. Wear it quickly, supporting female lead, calm down. Chapter 3399. Coming back to her senses, not long after Fu Fan left the original owner actually met a young man. Then, he brought the young man home. Many people thought that the young man was her new lover. The young man was younger than Fu Fan. He was only in his early 20s. After she brought him home, he had been living in her house. This was a treatment that Fu Fan did not have. Because of this, those people did not hesitate to attack Fu Fan. Most importantly, the young man did not look like Fu Fan. His temperament was also very different from Fu Fan's. No one doubted that the young man was Fu Fan's substitute. As mentioned earlier, Fu Fan used to like the original owner of this body, but for some reason, he always felt that their statuses were not equal and they were not worthy of each other, so he gradually put away that kind of like. The young man brought back by the host was called Wen Huai. Different from what others thought, he was not the host's new lover. Once when she went to drink to relieve boredom, she accidentally met the young man. The young man was also a small-time actor. During the day, he accepted some roles and worked as a bartender in the bar at night. Fu Fan indeed influenced her to bring him back. Because she used to know Fu Fan in the bar. She saw Fu Fan being forced to drink alcohol. In addition, she thought that by bringing a new person back, she would be able to divert attention and forget Fu Fan. Of course, she did not. Later, she saw that the young man was very hardworking, so she decided to help him. Later, she treated the young man as her younger brother. Wen Huai understood everything and treated the host as his real sister. When Fu Fan was successful and had his own company, no one knew why he began to attack the host's company crazily. After Fu Fan left, the host's work and rest were very regular. Even if Mei Min and Wen Huai had been persuading her to take care of her body, she still insisted on doing it. When she was busy, she forgot about it. In this world, she actually had no relatives. In fact, Fu Fan was very aggressive. He had been prepared and joined forces with many companies to attack her. She did not expect this. Even if she was capable and resourceful, she was inevitably a little flustered in the face of such a sudden situation. Especially Fu Fan's endless attacks. In the end, she felt very tired and did not care about it. In the last days of her life, she made arrangements for the few people close to her, as well as for Wen Huai. However, at this moment, Wen Huai left. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't disappointed. She had truly regarded Wen Huai as her younger brother. However, he had left her at her most critical moment. No one could bear such a blow. But she didn't expect that Wen Huai didn't leave her, but went to get help. When Wen Huai came back, she knew the truth. At this time, her body was already at the end of its life. She didn't have much time left. Wen Huai told her everything. He said that he would avenge her and make Fu Fan suffer. She also said that the day she brought him back, she was his biological sister. However, the original owner's last wish was to not let him care about this matter, to let him leave here, and to let him be well. Wen Huai did not agree. She said that she would not die in peace. In fact, she knew that at this time, Fu Fan was very powerful. Even if Wen Huai's family background was good and he had a lot of resources in his hands, there would be no end to the fight. The one who would hurt would be her brother. She didn't want to see another innocent person get hurt. After all, this was her only family. Wen Huai said that he was her biological sister. Weren't they family? Chapter 3400. Wen Huai had promised the original owner that after the original owner died, he would leave after helping her with her funeral. Unexpectedly, Fu Fan came at this time and they had a fight as soon as they saw each other. They fought until their heads bled. Neither of them had a good time. Later, Fu Fan said that he would personally help her with her funeral. Wen Huai felt that this person was strange. But his family's power was not here, so he couldn't beat Fu Fan. Fu Fan was already prepared and drove him away. The story had more or less come to an end here. Wen Huai had promised the body's original owner that he would not fight with Fu Fan. However, he would secretly make things difficult for Fu Fan, the kind that no one could catch. Fu Fan didn't look for trouble with Wen Huai either. The two of them were like fire and water, but they seemed to be abiding by some rules. They minded their own business and lived in harmony with each other. In this story, the appearance of the female lead, Lan Yeling, was relatively rare, especially after Fu Fan had his own company. Even after many years, when he married Lan Yeling was like a person who didn't have a sense of existence. Even so, many people still envied Lan Yeling. Since Fu Fan stopped acting, Lan Yeling was no longer an assistant, but a rich wife at home. This was all the plot of this world. It didn't seem to be very intense, and nothing too crazy happened. If there was anyone who was the most hateful, it should be Fu Fan. He was an ungrateful person who bit the hand that fed him and had an extreme character. But Fu Fan's behavior after the original owner's death was very strange. Many people guessed that Fu Fan was nostalgic. After all, the original owner used to like him and helped him so much. Without the original owner, he couldn't have gotten to where he was today. Even if he was a competitor, she had helped him before. It was right for him to remember her now. But after reading the memories, Tanggua didn't think so. Fu Fan liked the original Tanggua, he always liked her. Even if he later hid his feelings, and even lied to himself that he didn't like the original Tanggua, in the end, when the original Tanggua died, the love he hid was revealed again. No, that fondness should have appeared uncontrollably after he had stabilized his position and remembered that there was still Wen Huai by the original owner's side. Tanggua had already guessed why Fu Fan wanted to deal with the host's company. Perhaps he felt that the host had brought another man home not long after he left. In his heart, he always felt that the original owner only treated him as a plaything. He was not valued and could be teased at will. Naturally, he was not reconciled. However, he had lied to himself about many things. By the time everything was over, it was already too late to salvage the situation. Fu Fan was a proud, conceited, and self-abased person. Of course, he wouldn't admit that he actually liked the original owner, especially with his status at that time. The grudges between him and the original owner, he didn't intend to explain anything. Just like this, he spent the rest of his life with Lan Yeling. School beauty, that's all the memories I have. Margaret, this Fu Fan guy really makes me speechless. That girl is so silly. Is this kind of person worth helping? Shengguan Yonggu, actually, I can understand one thing. The girl's journey was not easy. It was said that all her relatives, including her parents, were gone in that accident. She was in charge of the company alone. When she suddenly fell in love with someone, she must have treated her wholeheartedly. Ziyun, actually, if it wasn't for responsibility, it would be difficult for an ordinary person, who lost so many relatives all of a sudden, to support himself in his teens. Mo Yuntian, yes, don't ordinary people value relationships the most? Qi Shao, how to solve it depends on our sister. No matter what Fu Fan's thoughts are, I don't think we should let him have an easy time. How can you like someone like that? Ungrateful bastard. The people in the group were discussing the story of Tanggua's world in full swing. But half an hour later, Tanggua left the group. Chapter 3401. She remembered where she was sitting before. It was probably not at home, but in a private room in a bar. There was another thing that she was more concerned about. It was today that the original owner would meet Wen Huai, who was the big boy that she treated as her brother. Wen Huai came from a good family, but he liked acting so much that his family did not agree. They thought that he was the son of the Wen family and should study hard and take charge of the family company. In addition, there were many conflicts in the Wen family. In the end, Wen Huai decided to go out on his own. He did not use the Wen family's power and went to a place that was out of the Wen family's control. The Wen family also thought that he should suffer a little outside so that he would know that it was not easy to be outside without power and influence. He started as an extra. After all, he had no connections and did not have much money. Fortunately, he was handsome and had some acting skills. He was more eye-catching among the extras. In order to prove himself, he would come to the bar to be a bartender when he was free, which was at night. Perhaps it was because he was too handsome that he was often harassed. Some rich women even wanted to keep him and thought of various ways to make things difficult for him. Wen Huai was really distressed about this. "Boss Tang, are you awake? Come in." The waiter brought Tang Guo a hangover soup. She drank half of it and asked, "Where's Secretary Mei?" "I'll get her for you right away." The waiter ran out quickly and Mei Min came in after a while. Mei Min was relieved to see that Tang Guo's complexion looked much better. She handed the coat to Tang Guo and said, "Boss Tang, you can't drink like this in the future. You have to take care of your body. You're so young. How can you consume your life in advance?" "I know, Secretary Mei. I won't do anything stupid because of this in the future." Tang Guo put on the coat and smiled at Mei Min. Mei Min was stunned and said, "You've thought it through. Boss Tang, you don't think that I'm annoying, so you deliberately said this to brush me off, right? You have a lot of time to observe." "I'm telling the truth." "That's true." Mei Min was a little absent-minded. Boss Tang had not joked with her like this for a long time. Did he really think it through? "Boss Tang, do you want to go back now?" Tang Guo looked up and smiled. "If I don't go back, do I have to spend the night here?" "No, what's good about this place? It's so comfortable at home. By the way, Boss Tang, can you take it? You have a meeting at 9:00 tomorrow morning. After the meeting, there are many documents that need your signature." "No problem." "Sure, can you arrange more time for me to work out in the future?" When Mei Min heard this, she was a little happy. "Okay, do you want to hire a private tutor? You haven't been in good health for the past 2 years. Not only do you need private training, but you also need a nutritionist. You always refused before. You can arrange it." Mei Min was so happy that even her glasses could not hide her joy. Tang Guo looked sideways. "Secretary Mei, you look pretty when you smile. Why do you always have a straight face? Smile more. Maybe I'll agree to your arrangement long ago." Mei Min stopped smiling. "Boss Tang, you're still joking at a time like this. I'm your top secretary. If I smile all the time, won't I embarrass you?" "I don't think so. You can smile however you want." Mei Min felt that Boss Tang was really different today. He was especially like a little girl. They walked out of the private room and went to the hall. Tang Guo heard a lot of noise. She looked at the bar counter. There were many people there. Even though there were many people gathered around to watch the show, she still saw the handsome big boy standing behind the bar counter at a glance. Chapter 3402. Kid, what do you think we should do about this? This is a famous watch. I just left it here for a while, and you broke it. The speaker was a middle-aged man. He was a little fat and had a fierce face. At first glance, one could tell that he was not a kind person. "You said you didn't touch my watch. How did it break then? Water got into it, and now the needle is not moving. Do you know how expensive this watch is? You can't afford it even if you sell yourself. Wen Huai glanced at the watch in the middle-aged man's hand. In his heart, he really wanted to say, what kind of famous watch is this? He also estimated the price in his heart. At most, it was less than 300,000 yuan. However, for the current him, 300,000 yuan was indeed a very large number. After all, the present was not like the past. He was now a poor man who worked at night for his dream and to survive. He was no longer a young master. Wen Huai adjusted his attitude and controlled his expression to not show any sarcasm. Instead, he said calmly, "Sir, as far as I know, to put so much in such a watch, you first need to find a place with water. At least enough water to submerge the watch. Then, throw the watch in. As for how long it will take, I don't know. After all, many famous watches seem to have waterproof functions. If you want to quickly get water in, there is a shortcut, and that is to first break the watch. Under normal circumstances, the quality of your watch is very good. It may not break if you knock it lightly, so you need to knock it hard. However, if you knock it hard, it will easily damage the surface. Of course, if you use a professional electrical method, you can only knock a small gap on the interface of the watch, just enough to let it soak in water. That's a different story." Wen Huai's words made the people around him laugh. Don't look at him as a bartender. He still has some knowledge. What nonsense are you talking about? Are you trying to shirk responsibility? The middle-aged man grabbed Wen Huai's collar. Kid, you're so young. You can't do anything but shirk responsibility. Do you not want to work here anymore? Why don't you ask your manager who I am? Now, you want Ma Shan to solve this problem for me, apologize, and compensate for my watch. I'm sure I didn't break it. Besides, I only have wine here, no water. Wen Huai's voice turned cold. How could he not see that the middle-aged man was looking for trouble? In fact, ever since he left home, he had been in a lot of trouble. However, this was not the first time he had encountered a scam like this. Every time, the result would leave him a little speechless. It clearly had nothing to do with him, but in the end, he was the one who was punished. Therefore, not long after he came out, he had been scammed countless times. This was because he had promised his family that he would not go back until he made a name for himself. Otherwise, if he failed and went back, he would have to listen to his family's arrangements and wouldn't be able to do what he wanted to do. How much is this watch? I helped Wen Huai out. It's not a big deal. Don't make things difficult for someone who works here. At this moment, a woman's voice sounded. Tanghua happened to walk into the crowd and saw the woman who spoke. She was slightly plump and her skin was fair, but her facial features were not good-looking. She was roughly 50 years old. Vertex. Chapter 3403. This woman's gaze had been on Wen Huai the entire time and had not shifted away. 500,000. This watch is worth 500,000. You want to compensate for him. You really want to compensate. This is 500,000, not 50,000. The middle-aged woman took out her name tag and handed it to the other party. I'll compensate. Are you afraid that I can't afford it? 500,000, right? Yes, 500,000. System, host, do you want to bring Wen Huai home? The reason why the system made a sound was because it had found something wrong. As for what was wrong, it still needed to observe for a while. Before Tanghua could answer, Wen Huai actually spoke. Your watch isn't worth 500,000. According to the market price, it should be around 200,000. I don't know when you bought it, so you have to include the depreciation fee. In my opinion, this watch isn't even worth 200,000. It's broken now. At this point, Wen Huai added, I didn't break it. I can guarantee it. Bah, you poor man. Do you know what a watch is? If it's not worth 200,000, then it's not worth it. Anyway, when I bought it, it was 500,000. Wen Huai stared. Then you must have been cheated by a black-hearted merchant. If you don't believe me, just go to the official website and look at the price. The various styles are clearly written on it. If you don't believe the official website, you should have the merchant's contact information after buying this watch. You can call their after-sales service and ask. Hearing this, Tang Guo couldn't help but laugh. Boss Tang. Mei Min was a little surprised. It had been a long time since she saw Boss Tang laugh so happily. No, ever since they met, Boss Tang had never been happy. Only every time a project was completed and the company had a new breakthrough, would she smile a little more. Nothing. Boss Tang, aren't you going to leave? That rich woman must have taken a liking to that young man and is now setting a trap for him. Mei Min explained, that woman is a coal mine owner. She just came to this city a few years ago and entered a new industry. However, her company's project doesn't conflict with our company's project. Mei Min's explanation was mainly to let Tang Guo know that this woman was just a character. As Boss Tang's secretary, she definitely knew more than other people, especially the new industries in the city. She had a list of those with a little influence. It's not very kind of you to do this. Tang Guo commented, isn't this kind of thing consensual? It's too shameless to set a trap for someone. Mei Min's eyes. When it came to setting traps, no one could compare to Mr. Tang, who was by her side. He always had a good time trapping his opponents. As long as I'm here today, no one will dare to bully you. The woman had already filled in the check. Wen Huai quickly stopped her. Director Liu, thank you for your kindness, but there's no need. Who couldn't tell that this woman wanted to hit on him? Was he the kind of person who would be hit on for a mere 500,000 yuan? Moreover, this woman didn't look like a good person at first glance. They were really not suitable for each other. He was only in his early 20s this year, and she was already in her 50s. Didn't she think that it was very inappropriate? Chapter 3404. Besides, if he wanted to find a girlfriend, he would definitely find someone younger than him. Even if she wasn't younger than him, she had to be around his age. Moreover, he didn't believe that there was nothing fishy about what happened today. It was most likely this woman and the middle-aged man who set a trap for him. It was all his fault. He was too good-looking. Ever since he left home, this particularly good-looking face of his had caused him a lot of trouble. Thinking of his previous experience, he felt a little helpless. He had been here for less than half a month, and this time, he had gotten into big trouble. 500,000. He should think about how to come up with 500,000. He couldn't ask his family for it, and he couldn't borrow it from his friends. His family would definitely send people to keep an eye on him. If he borrowed it from his friends, he would violate the rules and have to go back to inherit the family property immediately. He couldn't give in. If this woman got her way, he wouldn't have to continue living. Wen Huai. Wen Huai was deep in thought, thinking about what to do. The woman who liked Wen Huai had already filled out the check and was about to hand it to the man. At this moment, Tang Guo called Wen Huai's name and grabbed the middle-aged fat woman's wrist at the same time. We don't need President Liu's help with Wen Huai's matter. The middle-aged fat woman frowned and was especially impatient. Just as she was about to explode, she saw Tanghua and Mei Min, who was beside Tanghua. In this city, Tanghua's mission is a famous one. In the business circle, there was no one who didn't know her. Even if they didn't know her, they should have seen her photos. After all, a woman as young as her who had built a company to such a large scale might not be found in the world, let alone in the country. So it's Boss Tang. The middle-aged fat woman, who was about to get angry, suddenly smiled. What a coincidence. I didn't expect Boss Tang to be here. What a coincidence. The middle-aged fat woman was very nervous. How could she not be? She had heard about Tanghua's deeds and was especially envious in her heart. Therefore, she defeated her brother, took over her family's coal mining business, and took out the money to start a company. She hoped that one day, she could stand at the same height as Tanghua, or even surpass her. I don't think you understand watches. Tanghua lowered her head gently. After all, she probably didn't know this fat middle-aged woman. In fact, she wasn't interested in knowing her. That watch is indeed not worth 500,000 yuan. Just as Wen Huai said, it's worth at most 100,000 yuan after accounting for depreciation. You might have been tricked. Mei Min was very confused. Is Boss Tang going to be a busybody? She subconsciously looked at Wen Huai. Did Boss Tang know this young man named Wen Huai? She knew a little about this young man. He had been in this bar for less than half a month. Because of his handsome appearance, he had attracted a lot of female customers. As long as he was here, he would be mixing drinks almost non-stop. She suspected that this young man would not be able to work for long before his hands would break from exhaustion. Indeed, some rich women would want to keep such fresh meat as a mistress or have the intention to play with them. It couldn't be, right? Could it be that her boss Tang had also taken a liking to her? This time, Mei Min seriously looked at Wen Huai. The young man was clean and had a pair of bright eyes. He didn't look like someone who had been out for a long time. If Boss Tang really liked him, then it was fine. Suddenly, she remembered something. When Boss Tang met Fu Fan was also in a bar and was being embarrassed by a female investor. At that time, Boss Tang helped Fu Fan. Now, Wen Huai was here. Chapter 3405. Thinking of this, Mei Min had some misgivings. However, if she could get Boss Tang to let go of Fu Fan and use this Wen Huai as a distraction, it would be fine. After all, Wen Huai needed help right now. Even if you have a lot of money, this is not how you should spend it. Tang would gently push the check towards the fat middle-aged woman. She then turned around and said to Mei Min, Secretary Mei, tell assistant Li to come over and handle this. After speaking, Tang Guo looked at Wen Huai who was standing behind the bar and staring at her without blinking. Wen Huai, come back with me. Oh, okay, sis, I'll be right out, Wen Huai immediately reacted. He turned around, packed his things and quickly came out from behind the bar. With one glance, it was obvious that this beautiful young lady was here to help him. He was extremely touched. After being out for so long, he hadn't met many good people. All the men he met thought he was living off a woman. They called him a gigolo and looked down on him. All the women he met wanted to take advantage of him, so he had to be on his guard. The moment this beautiful big sister appeared, he felt as if his deeply wounded heart had been healed. Wen Huai happily walked over to Tanghua's side. The fat middle-aged woman's expression immediately changed. Was this young man related to Boss Tang? Didn't he say he was from out of town and had nothing to do with him? She gave the man with the watch a look, gesturing for him to leave first. If this matter didn't work out today, then seeing how this young man was related to Boss Tang, it most likely wouldn't work out in the future. But once she surpassed Tang Core, she would have no choice but to succeed. Unexpectedly, before the middle-aged man could leave, he was blocked by a tall young man. The most important thing was that the young man who blocked him was wearing a suit and was 1.8 meters tall. He should have looked very scary, but this young man was wearing glasses and carrying a file bag. My name is Li Hafei. I'm Boss Tang's manager. Secretary May just explained the situation here. In that case, sir, let's deal with the problem of this watch. If it's convenient, could you please provide us with the receipt for this watch? Even if he lost it, it wouldn't matter. As far as I know, although this brand's watches aren't the best, their after-sales service is pretty good. There's a serial number behind each watch. You only need to call their after-sales service to know the condition of the watch. There are a lot of people here. Let's talk in a private room. The middle-aged man wanted to run, but Li Hafei was tall and strong, blocking his way. What made him even more afraid was that two men had appeared beside him at some point. They were also very tall and looked a little fierce. Seeing this, the middle-aged man was about to cry. This is not Assistant Li but Li Baowei, right? Miss, thank you for just now. If it wasn't for you, I might have gotten into trouble again. After walking out of the bar, Wen Huai quickly thanked him. Oh right, how should we deal with this? We don't know the result yet, but Assistant Li should handle it in the best way. Tang Guo said. No matter what, I still have to thank you. By the way, give me your phone number. I'll repay you when I'm rich. Tang Guo glanced at the car in front of her. Where are you going? I'm going home. I helped you deal with a big problem and you just agreed to come with me. Are you going home? Tang Guo's words made Wen Huai a little dumbfounded. The summit that you're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.